Hello, Tom Lavecchia here with the latest edition of the Armchair NBA. Before we jump in, I just want to give a continued announcement on a road to 10,000 subs to build the biggest and strongest community on YouTube in the mob genre, up and around 10,000 subs. We're closing in on 8,200. There's a whole bunch of prizes below, all the way from books, t-shirts, $250 gift card, and the grand prize will be a $500 Amazon gift card and a guest host appearance, and that's sponsored by JSB Capital. So if you are subbed, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And if you are subbed, please share it with 1 to 3 friends. Say check out the Armchair MBA. Ask them respectfully to sub, and let's continue to build our community. I'm really excited about this next guest. I get excited about a lot of guests, get a lot excited about a lot of shows, but this particular guest, Majelio Montagna of iLight Network. I checked out his show. I watched him on other shows. I asked him to come on. He's a good guy, an intelligent guy, and he's only half Italian, but I won't hold that against him. Majelio Montagna, welcome to NBA. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Well, I poured a Russell's Reserve 10-year bourbon for you. I was going to pour some vino in honor of you, but you know what? I didn't have any vino. We drank it all the other night during the shit show. We got Sandy here hanging out. She says hello. Sandy, say hello to Majelio. She says hello. So how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good.
God bless. All right, we got a lot to cover. So for those that don't know you, why don't you give us a little bit about your formative years? Bring us up, your formative years and what kind of made you.
As far as what?
Growing up?
Just try to be specific.
Yeah, growing up. What type of environment did you grow up with? Who were your idols growing up? What are kind of some stuff that you got into? And what helped kind of mold, shape the person that you are today?
I would say how I grew up was pretty poor, and I don't want to say in poverty per se, you know what I mean? But in New York City, I'm from Brooklyn, so I grew up in a single parent household.
Okay.
My mother's Sicilian, so I grew up, my mother raised me and whatnot. And then in my early teen years, like when I was becoming a teenager, I moved in with my dad. I didn't meet my dad until I was about 6, 7 years old or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you met him, did you, when you were a kid, you're young, obviously, right? So you didn't know he was around, and then he was introduced to you, you said 7 years old. Was it like, hey, your dad's around, you're going to meet him, or he wasn't mentioned all day, showed up?
No, I was sleeping in my bedroom at the time. And I remember my mother was like, she didn't say your father. She said his name. Like, I don't want to say his name, but she mentioned his name, like so and so is here. So I looked up, I was sleeping, and I'm like, oh shit, he looks like me, I'm like, and then I just went back to sleep. I didn't care, to be honest with you, and then he started taking me out on the weekends and stuff, like to go back to Bushwick in Brooklyn. My mother's from Ridgewood, Queens, which is right next to Bushwick.
Yeah. So you grew up you said your mother, so you grew up in basically an Italian American home, more or less. Where in Sicily is your mother from? Do you know?
Right.
Where the family's
from.
And
my mother's not from Enna, but my grandmother, my grandparents on my mother's side are from Enna, which is in Sicily, Sicilia. So,
right.
Yeah, so it's, so it's weird. I don't want to say the wrong type of thing on your
listen,
on your station.
This is an open forum. Have at it.
Yeah, so my mother was like, I guess, my mother's like kind of, I don't want to say the black sheep because she's not, but my mother was always on her own type of thing. So even though I had a good relationship with my grandfather, my grandmother died before I was born.
Oh wow, me too. Wow, sorry.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so you know, my uncles on my mother's side and whatnot, I always knew them. So, you know, the way it's, I don't know, the way you grow up is I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like the way I grew up, it's, you could say like the late 80s into the 90s. My mother got with my dad in the 80s.
Yeah.
So at that time, you know, you had Puerto Ricans coming into Bushwick. So I found out how my mother met my dad is through my Uncle Paul. You know, like I guess my Uncle Paul used to hang out with my dad.
Yeah.
You know, bring him around and stuff like that. And my mom liked them. You know, and then my dad told me later on, he was like, yo, I had some problems with your uncles. Not your uncle. He was like, not your Uncle Paul. Your Uncle Paul is who brought me in. You want to hear the past sometimes. So
Yeah.
still to this day, I learn
Of course.
new things about the past. Yeah, so he's like, nah, your Uncle Paul is how I met your mom. He's like, but your Uncle John, he's like, this guy jumped me before, you know?
Hey.
Called me, he's like, called me the S word, you know, I really couldn't come around. But he's like, your grandfather was always cool with me. He gave me my first job and stuff like that, you know, but he made me marry your mom. And the marriage didn't last too long, you know?
Interesting. So hold on. So there might have been some
Marry your mom.
So there might have been some.
And the marriage didn't last too long.
Got it.
Interesting.
So
hold on. So there might have been some marriage.
So you are the quintessential between the old and the new world. And here was what I mean. The old world, in a sense, where you're raised by, you know, a Sicilian or Italian American mom who happened to, you know, have a child with a Puerto Rican guy in a changing neighborhood, changing landscape. You know, your uncle brought him around.
Yeah.
A lot of other people didn't approve. But the kind of back, and that even up into the 80s, especially if you're Italian, you knock somebody up, you got to get married to him. I'm just being straight, right? We all know that. So obviously it didn't work out. But he re-entered your life. How was that re-entry? Was it smooth, or was it a little rough and bumpy?
Well, with my dad?
Yeah, when your dad re-entered your life. I knew we were very young, but how was that re-entry?
Yeah, no. All it was I would go to his house on the weekends.
Yeah.
In Bushwick, and I would call him by his name for maybe like the first 2 years I knew him. Wow. I never called him dad, pops, whatever, just by his name. And then after about 2 years, he was like, listen, you gotta start calling me your father, you know?
Yeah.
I'm your dad. Like you just can't call me by my first name. He's like, I don't care how you call me your father, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, I'm just gonna call you Pops. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Pops.
So
or whatever the case may be. So
you start to work, start to form that bond with him, start to spend weekends with him, start to spend some time. Who were some of your idols growing up? Who did you idolize growing up? Could be wise guy, could be mainstream media, could be lesser well known. Who are some of the people you idolized growing up?
That's a hard thing to answer because I didn't like at that age, like when I like at like the preteen era, basically, I'm a kid. You know what I mean? But
I like Dave Majelio and the Yankees, but you know I was a Yankees guy growing up. You know, I'm trying to get a feel. Trying to get a feel for who you were as a kid.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe probably Michael Jordan. Maybe I don't know. You know, I don't know. But anyway, so when I'm 13, I move in with my dad because I have other siblings.
Got it. Okay.
It's not just me.
Got it. So
when I move in with my dad at about 12, 13, somewhere around there, I started getting into the street culture, basically.
Yeah.
My mom was more strict. my mom was more strict, so I knew about the streets, but my mom, you know, she's not the type of mother that just lets you do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So once I moved in with my dad, I started getting into the streets. You want to fit in, especially if you come from a neighborhood where gangsterism and drug dealing and stuff like that is idolized. So then I started getting into the streets. But my dad was always more, not soft in a way like he's a punk, but my dad was more of like a ladies' man type. He wasn't he wasn't a gangster or anything like that.
I get it.
But he had respect in the neighborhood. So my dad didn't. He wasn't strict on me when I started getting into the streets at like 13, give or take. You know, going out selling drugs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, what happens about that time is that my mother winds up living in my dad's neighborhood, Bushwick, at that time when I'm about 13.
The plot thickens.
So she winds up getting an apartment over there, like a few. Huh?
I was like, keep going. The plot thickens. Keep going.
Oh yeah. So she gets an apartment a few blocks away on Stanhope Street. That's where my mother lived, on Stanhope Street, between Knickerbocker and Irving.
Okay.
So, which, like I said, it's right close to Ridgewood. But anyway, so I'm like, oh, my mother's right here. Let me go visit her. I could visit my mother like every day if I want. She lived like a few blocks away.
Yeah.
So at this time, my mom starts dating a banana guy.
Okay.
So, which this is her man. You know, somebody may say boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
So when I meet him, I'll just call him AN for anonymous purposes.
I love it.
Yeah. So at this time, I'm a kid, but I am doing street stuff. It may seem far-fetched, like, oh, a guy's 13, he's in the streets doing stuff. In the rougher parts of New York City, yeah.
Hold on, before we get there, I want to grab, because we're gonna hit a convergence. So I want to get to that in a second. What were some of the first street stuff that you got into at 13?
As before I met my father's, my
your
mother's man, you could say stepdad.
Yeah,
you could say that if you want. Yeah. Before I first met him, I was just doing stuff like selling crack, selling bundles. Yeah, because like, especially if you're a more mature kid.
Yeah.
I wasn't a 13-year-old that you would look at and say, oh, he's only 13. Nah, it's the inner city. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so I was doing stuff like that, of robbing people, that type of stuff. That's what you do with guys on the block.
Did you have like a mini crew? Did you have a mini crew of kids you rolled with? Were you gang affiliated? Were you on your own?
No. Most of the guys, to be honest with you, most of the guys were older in Bushwick.
Got it. Puerto Ricans.
Most of the guys were
Puerto Ricans or Italians, or what background?
No, but mostly you have certain Italians that are mixed, obviously, because Bushwick used to be Italian, mostly. And then it became Italian and Puerto Rican, and then mostly Puerto Rican mixed with some blacks. But Ridgewood is right next. It's right next door.
Yeah.
You walk on foot and go into Ridgewood.
Yeah.
2 different precincts, controlling it, but it's right there. So anyway, a lot of older street guys that use young kids, you know what I mean, to do stuff.
Okay.
All right.
So hold on. So you're into the street stuff, doing crazy shit. Because whether we like it or not, you're still 13, right? Whether we like it or not, doing some crazy stuff, right? You meet your father-in-law, who happens to be with a certain family. I'm guessing if it's Knickerbocker Avenue in the 80s and a banana, I'm assuming he's Sicilian.
Yeah, no, but now we're going into the late 90s. I'm
Oh,
born in the 80s.
oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, pardon me. We're going into the late 90s now.
Got it. So you're
Right?
the
At
Messino
the
era. Okay, you're the Messino era. Okay. Okay. So what happens next?
Yeah, so all right, so when I meet him, what's going on at this time with like my mom is mad that I'm in a gang. She's mad at she doesn't like that.
Of course.
However, what could she do? I don't I don't live with her. You understand? I just go visit her. Right? So whatever. So paradoxically, I start hanging out with her man at the time. I'm not really hanging out with him. He starts taking me on runs.
Oh Jesus! Listen.
So I see, like he didn't live with my mom at first. But he would stay there. You understand?
Got it.
So when I see him there, he had a lot of diamond jewelry, stuff like that. Maybe like five. I'm being funny, but maybe like 5'3". You know what I mean? So yeah. So anyway, it's just funny in a way.
My father was 5'5". And flat-footed. Yeah, 5'5".
Wow. Yeah. So he starts taking me with him on runs. So what it is this. He knows this that I'm not slow. He would never take my younger brother or something like that with him. My younger brothers, well, I have two younger brothers, but he never took my younger brothers to do nothing. I'm just more mature, generally speaking, especially at that time for my age. So he starts taking me on runs. Now, I'm not impressed. Like I know about what Cosa Nostra is at the time, but I'm 13. That it wasn't nothing that I idolized or anything at that time, right? So anyway, he starts taking me on runs. So he would explain certain things to me, like basically what he was a Shylock / a runner. Now, by a runner, I don't mean a look like.
Wait, so you're like a 14 to 15-year-old kid, and he's going through. I'm giving this guy 4 points a week. This 2 points. So he's giving it. Like, how are you now in retrospect, as a grown ass man, looking back?
Right.
How did you process that?
I think now looking at it, it's flattering in the sense that, an older guy. You could say I'm like, and maybe in his mind at the time, like his stepson. You know what I mean? He already knows he's not slow. Like, oh, this kid is already.
Correct.
I know he's a street guy.
Yeah.
I could see it, and he's a street person.
Did you respect him more because of that you think at the time? Did you like him?
I think now in hindsight. Nah, in hindsight, I see it differently now. But back then, it was more like I really didn't care. I really didn't care. Like he'll be like, "Oh yeah, come on." He picked me up in his Chrysler, and I'm going around. You know what I mean? He's just taking me. I'm not looking at it like, okay, he's putting money on the streets. I could see that this guy he's dealing with here is a street guy. Or we're going to diners, and he'll have you up early.
Yeah.
5 a.m. early. Come on. It may seem strange, you know what I mean? Like, what the hell would a grown ass, Italian guy, and like, you watch The Sopranos?
Of course, I'm from Jersey.
Like you. All right. That's The Sopranos for an intellectual. The Sopranos is like a parody. That's really what it is, right?
Right. So
when a person has firsthand experience with Cosa Nostra or being around it, The Sopranos is funny, but what makes it funny is that it's a lot of stuff is truthful in it.
Yeah.
So this time period I'm talking about, the late 90s, going into the early 2000s, like this guy, AN, quote unquote, It was that. He wore track suits all the time, driving a Chrysler, if not a Cadillac. It's fun. He's like 5'3" or whatever, you know what I mean?
Barely looking over the steering wheel.
Yeah, so he would do that. Like at first he started taking me to, put money on the streets. That's what he would do, or collect money. And there was no violence with him. He, like, little by little, he would teach me certain stuff without trying to be too blunt. But so I learned things with like Shylocking that I know how to do, that I learned firsthand because he was so successful with doing it. But also he was a runner. So like he would take me to the Aqueduct. I don't know if you know where the Aqueduct racetrack is at in Queens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
so so he'd take me there.
Part of the Triple Crown, I think it is, right?
Say that again.
I think it's part of the Triple Crown, the Aqueduct. Kentucky Derby. No. Anyway, the horse guys is part of the Triple Crown. But I've been to Aqueduct before, yes.
Yeah, so you understand the dynamics. So the thing is, he'll show you more. You don't gotta say it. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So even in hindsight, especially, you start learning more because you may be oblivious to certain things as a kid. Like, I'm a kid. Realistically, what am I doing at Aqueduct? What am I doing there? Right?
Yeah.
So he was basically that, a Shylock / a runner. And by runner, I don't mean some low-level guy. A runner is just a guy who has a sheet in a book.
Yeah.
Like you saw the episode you and the other 4 horsemen did? Recently, you guys were talking about...
And by the way, I think some of the horsemen are in the chat. They'll be coming in later to grill you, but first we're going to chat a little bit over some vino and some bourbon. But okay, yeah. So he was probably a runner, was Shylocking, was not a low level guy, did pretty well for himself, and then kind of was your, in a way, your big influencer. I do have a question though. Because you happened to be in the neighborhood at the time on the streets, right? You probably had access to Italian gangsters, Puerto Rican gangsters, consider New York City, Dominican gangsters. Is a gangster a gangster, or do the Italians really got it? Give me that breakdown real quick.
Okay, so all right, so with this guy, AN, right?
Yeah.
Because it ties in. He's getting money, but this is in Bushwick, which, like I said, is predominantly at that time Puerto Rican and black.
Yeah.
But Italians have power in the neighborhood. Yeah. Don't think they don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So over there, if you did, like at that time, the gang stuff was, at least in that neighborhood, if you didn't know better. Like Cosa Nostra is really like a secret society.
Yeah.
It is. Guys don't, like, I would say this, this guy let me know a lot of stuff that would be, you're not supposed to, but if you're around it, you can't run, but God is not going to run without associates. It's just not.
Correct.
So how do you think guys are going to respect you? Because you're so secret, they don't know who you are. They have to know something to a certain degree. But anyway, so when you get to like, let's say Ridgewood, which is close by Bushwick, that's predominantly Italian. You got Polacks over there. Hopefully that's not like a disrespectful word. I don't know.
I don't even know anymore, to be honest. I've offended so many people this week. I'm over. Hey, Steven. I'm over the whole word about being PC right now.
All right. Yeah, I apologize if it is. But
I don't know. I'd be lying to you if I don't know.
Yeah, so you have other type of ethnicities that are more low key in Ridgewood, but predominantly it's like Italian dominated. Then you have Glendale, which is close to Ridgewood. So So like if you're dealing with Ridgewood, like I heard you talking about a certain cafe over there recently.
Yeah, the Giannini crew hung out in a few of
All
them.
right, cool. So that like the avenue that's dealing with, like, you know, you have main avenues in
That's
different
where
towns.
yeah.
So like if you're dealing with Bushwick, Knickerbocker is the main avenue.
Correct.
You know, that's all Myrtle Avenue to a degree. So when you're dealing with Ridgewood, Queens, you have Fresh Pond Road, and also Myrtle Avenue, because Myrtle Avenue runs from Brooklyn through Queens.
Yeah,
Myrtle.
So, Myrtle's like
yeah.
What's the other one that goes through? I'm trying to forget. 25A. That was just a sign. I forget the street. But I mean,
yeah. So with that, like that cafe you're talking about, that's dealing with like the Fresh Pond Road, you know, avenue, basically, you could say. It's like avenue, a place with a lot of businesses and stuff like this. So when you're dealing with that area, right? Bananos control that. Or let me say back then, pardon me, let me retract that. Back then, Bananos controlled that. And that doesn't mean like there wasn't Gambino guys or Lucchese guys, but Bananos controlled that.
Yeah, bananas were super heavy in Knickerbocker Avenue, Catalana. Those guys, Pizza Connection.
Yeah. But even like the area you're talking, you know, where
that area,
talking about that
as well. Correct.
It's so close. You would have to kind of be there physically to grasp like the geographical closeness.
A question from Rob Lido, who we'll talk afterwards about him. He wanted to know what part of Bushwick you were in.
Yeah, where I was born, basically, Green Avenue between Irving and Knickerbocker.
Got it.
But the whole Bushwick, I know the whole Bushwick, like up and down. I don't just know one part of it.
No, he just wanted to kind of get a feel, because I think he ran an error. Again, I'll talk about him after. But all right, so watch. So at this point, you kind of have my two dads. You have your real dad, you have your influential dad. You kind of now bring us up to, like, let's fast forward a little bit. 18, 19.
Okay.
Who were you?
Okay.
Who at that
all
point?
Right. So cool. So anyway, so my stepdad, quote unquote, later on, like first he moved to Ozone Park. Like he got a house in Ozone Park on 89th and Liberty Avenue. So my mother's there. He's no longer in, Bushwick, like when he's first dating my mother.
Yeah.
He got a house. And then after they moved to Maspeth, he got a house over there.
Got it. Okay.
And that's when.
So your mother stayed with AN for a while. They were.
Hell yeah. He's supporting her. Yeah, he's supporting her. Like that's what he's doing. Like she's living.
Did her lifestyle level up? Because it seemed like he was ignoring her. Okay.
Yeah, and this is like during the time like when The Sopranos came out. It's so funny.
Got it.
And like him, he would watch The Sopranos a lot. That's how I got familiar with it. It's like a parody. Like, oh man.
Yeah.
Like, So anyway, so that's like my mother's living high off the hog, basically.
Got it.
So around like my middle teen years, you could say, at that time he's living in Maspeth, which is where Big Joe lived.
Yeah.
For educational purposes. So
educational purposes only.
Yeah, so we didn't me and him kind of had a falling out, not really. It's just like he's controlling the domain. I don't live with my mother. I live with my dad, but I'll go, sleep over my mom's house in there.
So when he got mad at you?
We had not written. Nah, he really didn't. It's just you really can't have two males in the animal kingdom around to, especially if it's a woman involved, which is my mother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're dealing with my mother, so what is a man gonna do? I'm not saying all men are gonna do this. I don't want to be stereotypical, but what is your typical man gonna do when dealing with a woman?
This is important, I think, in terms of context. How was he
Right.
as a boyfriend to her and to her directly, in your opinion? Obviously, to you, he took care of you, took care of her.
Yeah.
But was he a good provider? But was he, was he a good guy to her? Did he treat her well? How was he?
Yeah, my mother's like my mother's more my mother's like, to me, acts like a nobly don. My mother to me.
I see. Here's the deal. I
'Cause
only have a really quick. I agree with everything you said. I checked out your channel. I very rarely do research. We're butting heads on the not but on swing.
Yeah.
But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, to me in that she's hot-headed, man. You know what I mean? So I've seen her slap. I'm not saying he's a punk, but I've seen her, my mother doesn't take shit from nobody, man. So my mother's not docile. You know what I mean? Like how I hear my grandmother was.
Correct.
My mother's she's not gonna accept stuff like that. So it's not that like, oh, he's beating my mom or something. Hell no.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's just he's gonna do stuff like he's gonna have some other gumadas, stuff. This type of stuff happens.
Well, I was trying to get
So
the
it's
dynamic of, because what I'm saying is, I hate to say this, but as an Italian kid growing up in any part of the spectrum, it's like, wow, like my dad was a good dad or my stepfather was a good father. And then you kind of look in the context of, well, he was a good father, good provider, but he had a gumad, right? Then when you're older, at least for me, I kind of wrestle with, well, were you still a good dad if you had the gumad? Anyway, I'm probably projecting. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's like my biological dad. When I started learning about his history, my mom would give me her side, and then I'll listen to my dad. But from both sides, I could see like my dad had no risk. Like my dad is banging. I'm not saying he's banging whatever's moving on 2 feet, but this is what he's doing.
Got it.
And my mother's like, hell no, I'm not.
It's not happening.
My mother would attack my dad, So later on, my dad would tell me like, he's like, man, your siblings. He's like, I think you was a good kids, but your mother, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
it was tricky. Yeah,
you get a lot of ways from your mother. So me, I feel more in tune. For me, with being Sicilian, that's what I feel in tune with. Meaning being more reserved, being more sneaky if I have to do something, not in a bad way of being sneaky, but just like being reserved.
Yeah.
My mother just, I don't know, she just reminds to me like a Neapolitan. Like if she's arguing with you, she go crazy.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, she go crazy.
Hold on, we're gonna get to that.
Like,
Sicilian dynamic. So
yeah, like she'll start talking Sicilian and stuff, and you're like, shit, what?
Well, I want to understand the parallel too, because you're a very well-spoken man. You're very intelligent. We'll get into the different topics in a little bit. We're in school. Were you like, what's a parallel? You were a street kid. Were you going to school? Did you have the girlfriend? Did you go to the prom? Were you playing football? Give us the regular kid track for us.
You said something about, you broke up a little bit. You said something about like the prom or something like
that?
Yeah.
So you were a kid growing up, right? You were 16, 17, 18 in high school, right? What was your parallel? You were in the streets and in school? Were you in school? Were you academic?
Oh, yeah. Nah, man. I think I was always smart because I went to like a performing arts school as a kid, which was a public school. But you get lucky like that sometime in life. You have older people who try to bless you with some wisdom and whatnot. But by the time I was about, I'd say 16, 17, man, I was out of school. I dropped out. So I dropped out.
What gave you?
I never went to a prom.
what gave you the confidence to drop out? Because generally dropping out's a big deal, right? And you had like, you're on the street, you're doing what you're doing. But what was the exact reason at that point you believe you dropped out? Like what was the
You
why?
said what was the reason?
Yeah, why did you drop out?
Because it just didn't appeal. When you're in school, all right, like at this time I dropped out, and this will probably bring us some more insight. When I dropped out, which I say is about 16 to 17, I can't remember exactly. I don't keep a book, right? In this type, I don't keep a diary, but it's about 16 to 17. The streets appealed more. You have, you have hot young women, if you want to say that. You're in school. Who do you think the females or your peers are really looking up to for the most part?
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, they're looking up to the bad guys.
No, I know.
Unless a person is strong enough to be like, what we would call a nerd, and be like, hey, I'm not really in the streets like that. And you have to have a crew in life. That's important. This doesn't have to be Cosa Nostra per se, but you have to have a crew, man. To me, your crew is going to keep you guided in whatever you're doing, whether it's one dimension of life or the other dimension.
Yeah.
So you'll have certain smart kids who people may say are nerdy, let's just say, right? You learn better as you get older, but those so-called nerd kids, they'll have a crew too of so-called whatever other nerds that keep them afloat. They're focused on where they're going.
Yeah.
Right? And then they live,
there's
longer.
There's an end game, Like when you got a crew and
they make it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. And then you have gray areas, obviously, because life is not black and white. It's really gray. Correct. So at 16 or 17, I'm like, fuck school. Pardon my French. This, like, I don't care about this. Right? I care about being, having fame in the neighborhood, basically. Which is why social media clout is so popular nowadays. Like, we didn't have this when I was a teenager. YouTube or nothing like this. So anyway, I dropped out of school. So at that time that I dropped out, now I'm more what you would call, at that time, more of a low-level street, like a low-level street guy. Low-level street guys like you the guy doing the robberies and you're just doing dumb shit or whatever. So that's about 16 to 17. So at that time, I'm still in these other neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Where my mom lives, if I go over there, right? Ridgewood, if I go over there. Glendale, if I go over there. Middle Village, if I go over there. Yeah. Stuff like that, right? Yeah. Queens, because if you're a New York City guy, typically Queens, every borough has money. Like Brooklyn is the second richest borough now.
Yeah.
Next to Manhattan.
Correct.
But Queens always had money. That's how we understood it. You go into Queens, there's some money to be made over there. Correct. You could get into something lucrative. Correct. So around that same period, I wound up meeting one of my business partners. But before I went to the can, because I went to the can.
Well, we're gonna get.
When I was about going on 20.
Hold on, I'm gonna get to that real quick.
Yeah. So
hold on.
So all right.
One question I'd like to know that I still want to wrap my head around. What was the difference between the Italian gangsters and the non-Italian gangsters? But give specifics. Again, was it?
Yep. That's what I'm gonna get into now. Thanks for guiding my course back, because I kind of strayed. But
right.
I'm getting. All right. So around that time that I dropped out, as I stated, right, out of school or whatever, I'm more in Ridgewood, or Glendale.
Yeah.
So if you go into those type of neighborhoods and you're really you're what you would call a tough guy, I guess.
Yeah.
If you have balls like that, but you can't be dumb. But if you have balls, you would take over. Not everything, but you'll take over a lot of the action that's going on.
Correct.
Because remember, everywhere, I don't care what you think, everywhere has some type of racketeering going on.
Correct.
Everywhere. Organized crime, it is going to continue because of civilians. It's not just organized crime guys. The civilians make it survive. And we will probably talk about that maybe.
Because
So,
we probably will, because they're the customers. You need the customers
exactly.
into the machine.
Exactly. Yeah. In real life, like there's a saying, there are no squares at the round table.
That's right.
We could probably get more into that later. But so around that age, like when I dropped out, I met one of my business partners whose name was David. I could say his name now because he's dead. Rest in peace. So he was part Nobly Don, part Mick, right? So when I met him, I don't know, like you it's weird. You have a certain on a street level I'm talking about, not on some mundane level.
Yeah.
You'll have a certain attraction to a certain person, you know? Meaning like, okay, I met this guy, we click.
Yeah.
You know? On
Yeah.
a street level though.
Yeah.
Like I like this guy right here.
You energy,
So
vibe, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I meet David, it was just there. You know what I mean? Like I'm in his town, but I'm at that time I'm doing low level stuff, but I'm in his town.
Are you on, if you don't mind me asking?
He's doing.
Well, hold on. If you don't have to answer who it was, were you on record with anybody at this point, or were you still flying solo?
No. At that point, I'm low level. I'm nobody.
No. But were you associated? Like, were you like, hey, you were low level nobody, but I'm on.
No,
record.
I'm no. At that time, I'm nobody.
Oh, you're nobody.
At the time, I'm telling you now.
Okay,
When I
got it. Keep going. Okay.
I'm nobody when I met this guy. It doesn't mean I'm not,
I get it.
doing my thing, but
I get it.
Yeah. So at that time, I'm nobody. So when I meet him, I have some clout, but I'm nobody. As far as when you're dealing with Cosa Nostra, and that's kind of the realm we're in now.
Yeah.
I didn't lose sight of that. Yeah. So David, on the other hand, is different. He's connected. I'm young. He's young too, but you know how old I thought he was when I met him?
How old?
I thought he was probably fucking 27, something like that.
Yeah.
He's in my same age bracket. He has a couple years over me, but same age bracket.
No,
but
so
how a man carries himself.
You meet a new partner, associate, whatever you want to call him. And what did, I always like dynamic. What did he bring to the table? Was it money, connections?
All right. Yeah, I'll tell you right now. So when I met him, which is weird, whatever, we connect. So I can't remember everything of like how like the first day we hung out. I really can't remember all the details, but I do know we clicked, whatever, we start hanging out. And this is in Glendale that I meet him. All right. So whatever, we hanging out. I get, a person doesn't want to be so transparent in the beginning because who wants to be figured out? You're doing street stuff. But in a short period of time, him and certain other guys too, but he's like, listen, he knew I was into the low level shit. He knew that. he's like, what's the purpose? You know, like, what's the purpose of what you're doing? And I could recite certain things that make them sound good. But a seed was planted. So he started putting me on to, as time went on, to what I call racketeering. I don't consider drug selling racketeering. I don't, because that, I'm not saying it's not, but any dummy could kind of do it. Not saying at the higher levels, but man, it sells itself pretty much.
No, let's be honest. There's rackets that are just straight gangster, and there's rackets that are racketeering. I believe they're for business and street purposes. I believe that there are clear distinctions, which I believe are the same. Big. Yeah.
So when me and him, hooked up, basically, at first I would do the grunt shit, because that's what they know you for doing. Grunt shit is basically putting the beating on guys and stuff like that.
You know what I call that? I call that the Mafia mailroom. It's your entry level into the organization, you know?
Yeah, so at first I thought he was kind of like me. You know what I mean? Like I thought he was kind of like me on that level, but nah, he was more. You know how guys would say, like, Paul Castellano was a racketeer. He wasn't a gangster. That's false. He was a gangster.
Yeah.
It's just he was a gangster that understood business better.
Yeah.
But it's not like he's a punk. You know what I mean? No.
Yeah.
So once me and him became closer, he started introducing me to certain rackets. I hear the Bambina in the background, you heard?
She's she'll be interviewed next. I'll mute accordingly, so keep going.
All right. So once we really started getting money, this is what he put me on to, right? Like, he used to work for a guy named Sal. So this is when I started to understand racketeering better, right? He's like, listen, I'm going to start showing you, how to really get money. Like, this other stuff, grunt work stuff that's not about nothing. You're going to be in the can, right? So, all right, so he worked for this guy, Sal. So what this guy, Sal, used to do is he had an office in Manhattan. Sal was on, I don't know if you remember, I don't know what stations you have where you're from, but in New York City, we used to have some bull crap called Help Me Howard. It was like a show on channel. It's a news guy, but he used to have a segment where
you would show up on like Channel 9. This person ripped me off. You got to take care of them.
Yep. Yeah. Right.
Channel 9 and Channel 11.
Now check it out, Tom. I don't know if you remember from that era, but those guys would not get pinched. I don't know if you remember that. Like, they would, bring the paparazzi, quote unquote.
Yeah. And
they wouldn't put those guys out of business.
Correct.
Why do you think they had to call Help Me why do you think they had to call Howard? Because it's like the cops can't do nothing.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If people need more insight, you could just ask me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so anyway, Sal was on that before. Anyway, so David was working for Sal. That's how he learned how to racketeer. On a more sophisticated level. So he pulled me into what we would do is this. All right. We'll put ads in the newspaper, right? There's different rackets and shit. We'll probably talk about that. But anyway,
yeah.
So we'll put ads in the newspaper. This is not the internet era.
Correct.
Like we had computers and shit like that. AOL was out, stuff like that, but it's not like now. So You put an ad in the newspaper, right? It's cheap, but you don't do it in your town. You put an ad in some obscure newspaper out of Texas,
Yeah.
whatever, right? You'll run an ad. So in this ad, you're saying, look, we're looking for drivers, right?
Yeah.
To drive, like chauffeurs,
Yeah.
to drive luxury cars for this fake ass company that just really doesn't exist.
Correct.
Now it sounds far fetched, maybe to a square, but the newspapers didn't run a check like, oh, do these guys really have um, a DBA, or do they have some other type of
Right.
whatever business license, right?
Yeah.
So we'll be like, well, we're looking for drivers. You're gonna get paid $21 an hour. This is not today. This is a while back.
Yeah.
You'll get paid $20 an hour plus tips and gratuities. Call this number. It's a toll-free number.
Of course.
So we buy phones from neighborhood phone places like you'll see nowadays, like Metro PCS, but you know, same shit back then. You had different whatever phone franchises. So you get like basically burnout phones. You buy a few phones real quick that can't be traced back to your name. That's it, and that's not hard to do.
Correct.
So when they saw the number in the ad, they're gonna call you. So your phone is gonna blow up. Now what you do is the number that would be posted in the paper, the 800 number, the toll-free number, that shit is really a pager at that time.
Oh shit.
Because you'll have to have a whole team answering the phone all day.
Correct.
It's not gonna work. So it'll send them right to voicemail. Like, oh, this is such and such company. You made up a fake name and put it in the fucking newspapers.
Correct.
So when those numbers come in, you check your messages. Now the burnout phones that you bought, right?
Yeah.
You're calling them from there.
Okay.
But you have to have a team.
Correct.
So at this time, I'm living in Forest Hills. Like me, my business partner.
Yeah.
And there was a third business partner that we had directly. So we all lived together. Like we rent a house, basically. In Forest Hills. Yeah. So we don't do nothing. We didn't do nothing in Forest Hills other than that. Like we don't ship or you eat. You go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they call the 800 number, whatever, you have to have a whole script and shit. Basically, it's a whole script. You call them, say, "Oh, listen, you interested in the job? Okay, we have a garage at such and such place, but you're bullshitting them. You know where they're at based on their area code when it comes through. You know, on the phone. You know how you have like call ID nowadays. So back then you had the same thing. So you bullshit them. It's the gift of gab. What you're knowing is that humans want something for nothing. That's a weakness of humans.
Correct.
So you're like, oh yeah, we have a garage over here. We have this type of a car. Let's say, Cadillac Escalades.
Yeah.
Excursions, whatever. So you get paid, as the ad said, $20 an hour or whatever, plus tips and gratuities. You sell them on the whole shit. Correct. Now what happens? They're like, yeah, I'm interested. Yeah. I'm a truck driver, whatever the fuck they are. Yeah. So they're like, okay, cool. Now here goes better than me because you have an MBA. Like you would know
ideally I would.
You would know the sales. You know the.
Well, no, I wrote a sales book. I wrote a sales book. Exactly. That's not the MBA part. That's the me knowing how to bullshit. But either way, I got you.
Right. So basically, this is the part where the bait is there. You know what I mean? And you want to reel them in.
The hook.
Yeah, there you go. So they'll be like, okay, cool. I'm very interested. So here goes the bullshit. So the bullshit is this. You have to pay a security deposit. And you have this choice of vehicles. right? So the security deposit is going to vary based upon whatever luxury, quote unquote, vehicle they're buying. And we used to bullshit them like we're a subsidiary to Exotics USA, and Exotics USA was a real company.
Jesus.
But they'll go look for the parent company, like, oh yeah, this is legit. Anyway, so by the time you sell them on all of the bullshit, here comes the security deposit, which is how you're gonna get jerked.
Yeah. How
So
much? What's the range on for the pleasure of working for MM? I like
if it was a more
limited. What
yeah,
was
so
the
if it was a yeah, let me try to get through this because it breaks up here and there on the other end. Sorry about that.
Oh, real quick,
So,
guys. So just so you know, he's not being slow in any way. There's a delay from when I speak to his ear, and that's part of it. We tested it out earlier. That's why there's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah. So, all right. So if it's a more high-end vehicle at this time, and I'm talking about the early 2000s, I'm not talking about now.
Yeah.
If it was a more high-end vehicle, the security deposit would be $600.
Ooh,
right?
Nice.
If it was a lower end, something luxury, but not like a big body type of vehicle, 250, something like that.
Hold on.
So
Let me guess.
what happens is
Hold
this.
on. Let me guess. I pay you with either cash or cashier's check. Let me guess. Right?
Yeah, at that time we didn't have like Cash App or nothing like that. So what we did was through Western Union. That's how we did it.
Better because they withdraw the cashier's check. Yeah. Nice.
Uh-huh.
Smart. Because
Like we did it strictly through Western Union at that time.
Yeah. Smart. So how lucrative was it?
Oh, I'll tell you. So boom. So let me just give you the rest of the thing quick.
Yeah.
So,
Please.
all right. So the part of the sales pitch, because we have scripts too. And this still goes on. I don't do it, but it goes on. Some people try to get me like that, but I know the hustle. Anyway, so part of the script is, Western Union is a government. It basically is safe, quote unquote. That's what you're trying to sell them on. So, also you tell them that it goes into an escrow account, which is part of how you get them too. Like, oh, this is going into an escrow account for 30 days. And it's refundable as long as you don't damage our vehicle.
Yeah.
Right? So what winds up happening is that if they agree to the whole thing, they send you the money Western Union. Now what happens is this: you have in this racket runners, which is different from a runner in gambling.
Correct.
Big time difference.
Correct.
So the runners are guys that are like 16, 17, and you have them in the office.
Yeah.
So at this time, all of us had home offices, except for the guy Sal. Sal was like bigger, but
yeah.
So we just had home offices. You got phones there, everything set up. So the runners go and they have to go to the Western Union to go pick it up. Now at that time, you didn't even really need IDs, right?
Yeah.
After 9/11, like after the 9/11 thing, it's more security shit started happening with, oh, let me see your ID. Who are you? And this, that, and the third. So the runners will go and pick up the money, and what you give it, like what we would give the runners is $50 a piece. They're kids, 16, 17, high school kids. So they're getting $50 for every run. So in a typical day, you'll get 10. You'll catch at least 10 VICs on a typical day.
Ooh.
10 VICs. But you got to remember that every one is not a $600 hit. It's between $250.
Yeah, let's call it. They call it marketing average order value. Let's say the average was $100. You're looking at $1,000 day back then.
Yeah, so you got between 250 to 600. So
even better. So you're talking about a $3,000 day, maybe.
Yeah, but you got to remember, you got not just you, you have two other partners.
Well, yeah. Well, hopefully they're pulling their weight
So,
too. Yeah.
yeah, you have to because it takes the team to make it work.
Correct.
You have to know the script. Then you have to get better because when the fucking guy's doing that in the beginning, like certain wise guys would do it. Like it happens to me sometimes. They don't know. Everybody doesn't know everybody.
So
I
hold
know
on,
for
hold on.
fucking
Hold on, hold on,
yeah.
hold on. So what was a scam? You turn off that phone number, or you turn so I give you $600. I call you in 2 weeks.
Right.
Is that number disconnected, or like what's the scam?
No, nah. It'll stay on. We'll keep it on for a couple of weeks. Why? Because your number's already known, for one. Two, if you block it, what do you think we're gonna do? Hang up on you. All that people start doing is saying, yo, we're gonna call the feds. But I'm gonna tell you this, Tom. Your regular law enforcement, this goes back to why you had Help Me Howard. Your regular law enforcement is not equipped. They're not equipped to. It sounds far-fetched, maybe to a civilian, but your regular law enforcement is not equipped for that.
Yeah.
They're not equipped for that. Like, how do we deal with this shit?
Can I?
You know what I mean?
Huh? Yeah. Can I? I'm gonna
Yeah.
digress for 1 second. There was
All right.
somebody said, "Hey, why use Western Union?" Right, and that's what I call in the book. It's called the aura of legitimacy. I'll tell you a quick story. Very rarely do I tell stories, but I'll tell you a quick story. Husband and wife are going to buy a washer and dryer. They see an old guy with a huge an earpiece. Old guy, sir, how much is a washer and dryer? He goes, huh? How much is a washer and dryer? He goes, huh? How much for the washer and dryer? He goes in the back, Johnny, how much for the washer and dryer? Johnny goes, it's $800. He looks at the couple and goes, oh, it's $400. The wife elbows the husband. They buy the washer and dryer for $400 and they leave. Meanwhile, the guy takes out his earpiece. He can hear fine. It's that they thought they were getting a deal because the guy in the back is supposed to be the manager who offered what is called the aura of legitimacy. So when you use Western Union, they don't understand two things. Number one, the money's pulled right away. It's out of their account. And number two, why would a fraudulent group use Western Union? That is a quintessential aura of legitimacy. Sorry, Majelio, continue.
Yeah, so so that's what we would do. So that was one thing. But you like, let's say my business partner there, he didn't do nothing. Like the guy that we want, the guy that we want record with at that time, we didn't do anything like renegade, like
yeah.
If you're using somebody's flag, they have to approve that, but that doesn't mean you won't do your own fringe stuff. You know what I mean?
Correct. Now, hold on. Now you're young. You got a nice scam going. You got stuff cooking. You probably got a few different rackets. Are you starting to catch up a little bit? You have the car. You're taking out the girls to nice nights, or are you still scraping by at that point?
No, we're doing good. So you got to think there's three of us. So that's one racket. We have a legitimate business at the same time, which what the legitimate business was a pest control business.
Wow.
Now, how we got and at this time, I'm young. I'm still a teenager. So my partner, David, like I said, he has like 2 years on me. So he was close to his early 20s or whatever.
Yeah.
And then our other partner is young too. So besides the security deposit scam, which is cool. Well, it was cool at that time to us. We had the pest control thing. So even with the pest control thing, it's things are easier said than done. The way we got the pest control thing, I don't want to say how we got it. because I don't want to open no fucking like old wounds or whatever with certain people.
Yeah.
It was like through some scumbag Italian shit to me.
Hold on. You talked about scumbag Italian moves or scumbag Sicilian moves on other shows and elsewhere.
Yeah.
Can you please describe what a scumbag Italian move is?
Like Italians, we're more sneaky. Like, which is not bad. It's just we think only some Italians. We can't really stereotype it. That's why I said like my mom. My mom reminds me of a Neapolitan. She just does, cause she's so hot headed.
Yeah.
She is. I don't. It's good in its own way, you know. It's good in its own way, but it's too. Damn. What's the word I'm
Hold
looking
on.
for?
But give me a specific. You gave a very good explanation. I'm not sure what show it was. So when I heard the scumbag, either Sicilian or Italian move, at first I was like, F you, man. And then I'm like, you know what? The way you described it actually kind of made sense. So
because that's how we are. Like, like growing up.
Yeah.
I can lie and tell people like I remember when I was a kid. Not to digress. I eat with manners, right?
Yeah.
I have manners when I eat. I have good etiquette, good table etiquette.
Yeah.
My middle brother has bad table etiquette.
Yeah.
For his own reasons. But when I grew up, like if you're eating your spaghetti, my mother be like, listen, I don't want to say the word, but like, listen, why are you chewing like a da so and so? And I'm like, oh damn, what? What is that? Like, why are you slurping your spaghetti this type of way? So, with Italians in general, especially Southern Italians in general, it's sneaky in the sense of you're being smart. Like, listen, I could wait. I don't have to be brazen with what I'm doing. I have to outthink you. I have to line you up, in other words.
Correct.
So that's what I mean by that.
It's teed up. It's teed up. I don't want to be stereotypical and say Machiavellian, but it's a Machiavellian type tee up.
Yeah, but it is.
Stands you up in a different way.
Yeah, it is. Because, we want to do things smart. So that's what I mean by that. It's sneaky. But we all, like, we joke with each other. Like in my family, I have mixed kids. Like I don't have kids, but I'm just saying like kids in my family.
Yeah.
The mixed kids in my family, we may say, oh yeah, Molignan, what's up? That's how we are as Italians. We don't.
Yeah.
None of us take that we don't take that personally. Like, oh yeah. We just joke. That's how we joke. That's how we play.
Correct.
So you, as an Italian, you have to expect that. It's a stereotype, but you have to expect that an Italian is going to be more, sneaky, man. You have to, because people get mad. I've seen it in the streets when certain guys get lined up when I was younger.
Yep.
And they got lined up and they'll be upset like, oh, but now like an Italian got you.
Correct.
He whined and dined you and he set you up. And you didn't see it coming.
Correct. So hold on. So at this point, let's keep it simple. Business purposes, multiple streams of revenue, right? You're doing okay. Now at this point, with the Bananas, whatever family it was your guy the associate on record, or were you also on record at the time?
Give me 1 second. I'm just. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well.
All right, cool. Yeah, so yeah, individuals on record. So this is what happens. Um, the area I'm talking about mostly.
Hold on, we need a little better volume from you. We need better
Can you hear
volume.
me now?
Yeah, I can.
All right. So remember the areas I'm talking about.
Correct.
At that time, like now, I live in Pelham,
Bronx.
which is in the Bronx,
Correct.
right? So I'm mostly always in Pelham nowadays, right? Um. So what was your original question? Pardon me. I don't want
No,
to
so at this point,
digress.
um, who's on record? Your guy David, who passed unfortunately. Are you on record? Are you kind of have the eyes of the wise guys? Is your crew on record or
Right.
just the one guy?
Yeah. Repeat that. You said being
Okay.
something about being on record and.
At that point, are you on record as
Mhm.
well with your partner David? Are you on record with the
Oh
banana?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Because it's a crew.
Got it.
So it's a family thing at the same time. Like there's relative. There's not just like. All right. Let me try to make this more understandable. You see, like how on your one of your recent episodes, you guys were talking about like the gambling racket.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, if a guy's a runner, right? Let's say, for example, like you don't even have to particularly be a runner, but
Yeah.
a runner is a better example. A guy has a sheep in a book, right?
Correct.
Like a
Correct.
guy's a part of a bookie's operation, right? In New York City, particularly if you're part of a bookie's operation, you're gonna be connected to Cosa Nostra.
Correct.
You're gonna be. There's no
Correct.
uh, like there's a difference between a booker and a bookie and a runner.
Correct.
Difference.
Correct. Correct.
You have to be tied in. So at that time, yeah, we like with most of my people, like David. David was like he was Neapolitan on his mother's side. His father was Irish. But everybody we dealt with, for the most part, like on a direct level, was Sicilian.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but let me not say everybody, most. So it's a
Right.
family thing. Like
Yeah.
our landlady at the time. Our landlady at the time was connected, but it doesn't mean like she was a criminal. It's just her male relatives are in the life,
Got it. It's
and
a
she held things down.
it's an
Huh?
it's an ecosystem, right? It's a system of people that are
Yeah,
taught in by Sicilian heritage with the same goal,
yeah.
and that's what the intent
Mm-hmm.
of True Cosa Nostra was.
Yeah. So like our landlady at the time, which I still know her, I'm cool with her to this day. I love her. Um, she's not gonna shun you. Like we didn't grow. I don't know. We didn't grow up like that. Like she knew even that we were racketeering. She knows like her. She like it's in her family too. So we all just know each other. It's not um like I was hearing one of your guys, which I get it. Recently, he was like he was living a double life or something like this. And like one of your recent podcasts.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I get that type of thing, but for
Yeah.
us, it was not like that, man.
Yeah.
Like you think my mother's gonna say, hey, my son went off to college oh man, I'm so ashamed. No, it's like it's weird in a certain way because it's sort of like a badge of honor. You know what I mean?
Correct.
We don't want to make it that way, but it just is like we don't look down on each other, and in our circle, we just don't.
So, okay, what happens next? So you're earning, you're an associate, you're doing your thing. You're around what, 20 years oldish at this point?
Mhm.
What happens next in your life?
Say that again.
What happens next in your life?
All right. So when we're doing that, right? We're
Hold
doing
on, is
that.
that is
Of
that is
course,
that
regular
hold
racket.
on, hold on. Is that coffee or booze in that cup? In the cup, coffee or
Now
booze?
it looks like it's designed to be espresso, but it's really the Mayomi wine that I told you I got. Wine
Nice,
gets you kind of right. I didn't know that. I'm a
nice people
cognac guy.
on. Nice job.
Now I guess you're right, man. I tried to get the wine you told me about, but I would have had to have gone to like
We're
the
gonna
we
we're
have a
gonna we're
big
gonna we're
wholesaler
gonna
in the Bronx.
we're gonna open up a bottle of Barolo together. When I come to Pelham, when I come to Morris Park, we're gonna have it together and we have a nice time. Okay, so what happens next in your life?
All right, so we had that, right? We had the pest control. So with the pest control, we're doing different pizzerias. We had Beach Bum, which is a tanning salon company. We had all of their routes.
Yeah,
Um, so we're doing that. That's the legit part. And in the legit part, you're gonna meet guys that are connected. So like the Gambino guys we would run across a lot of times would be in Howard Beach, but we're not doing business with them. Other than legit business, like just doing pest control. We
correct,
fumigate your place, stuff like that. Um, so that's basically what we're doing, and we're doing other stuff too, not just that. You have supplemental rackets. So we're doing that. The pest control, the scamming things. You get into some fights with some guys in the neighborhood. Obviously, sometimes. Um, Now with the bananos at that time, this is like the early 2000s. The guy that the main guy that we're running with, he winds up getting pinched. Like before I got pinched. I got
okay.
pinched in 2006 in the sense of going away for a long time.
Oh wow,
So the guy that we're with, this is what happens with him, right? He gets all right. You mentioned the Messino shit or whatever.
correct,
That's it's around the same time period, but it's a little bit earlier. So the main guy that we're running with, he gets pinched. But what happens is this: you see how I mentioned Fresh Pond Road earlier,
yes,
in Ridgewood / Glendale.
correct,
All right, at that time, the Bananos had that whole thing.
okay,
I'm not saying there's not other guys in the mix, but it's basically a Banano operation. They're running the gambling. So a lot of those guys, this is a little bit after Messino. A lot of those guys, the Banano guys, they wound up getting pinched. How they got pinched was, all right, you understand with the gambling racket. A lot, a lot of civilians or legitimate people deal in the gambling.
correct,
So a lot of business people over there were customers, put it that way. Now, how it came out in the newspaper was like so and so and such and such and such and such. I don't want to say the names, but such and so were extorting
yes,
these businesses on Fresh Pond Road.
correct.
Now, if you ever go to Fresh Pond Road, it's nice. There's restaurants, whatever,
Yeah,
all type of businesses there.
correct.
What really happened is that you have like with the banana guys, which I don't know if you know about the law of attraction, or are you familiar with it?
I know about the 48 laws of attraction. I've done pretty well for myself, so if my fiance will come on, I can back that up. But I'm pretty well aware of it.
Right. Yeah, no, we could tell. I'm just saying, like, like in common marketing, you know what I mean? Like
Correct.
self-help book marketing, they talk about the law of attraction.
Correct.
It's like that.
Yeah.
I think that in hindsight, like the banana guys are more to I don't want to say the wrong thing, man, but I want to say like more street.
Wait, no, don't worry. It's just us. It's just us. Nobody is listening.
Yeah, like damn, man, it's hard to like find the word.
Hold on. Why?
More like
Why are you thinking?
I don't want to say gangsta, and
yeah.
I don't want to say gangsta and then take away from the gangsta of others, but
yeah,
the bananas are more at that time period with it, man. Like you fucking people up. That they the truth at that time. So, I think that if that was your vibration,
yeah,
you would tend to probably gravitate, to those type of individuals
yeah,
doing your racketeering at that
yeah.
time. So anyway, they weren't really extorting these businesses as how the newspapers made it. It's just really gambling. And if these people can't pay, because remember, it's like, let's say you're a runner, like how you guys had the episode the other day, right?
Correct.
Um, it doesn't mean like they're fucking 1920s or 30s runners. It just means like a guy has a sheet in a bookie's book. Now, how you work it out with the bookie, I don't know. That's if you have runners that have to collect on their own. You get what I'm saying? Like, let's say you have a sheet with a bookie, and it's like, okay, as a bookie, naturally, if you're smart, like going back to the AN guy, he taught me when I was a kid, like deal more with street guys, and I stuck by that for the most part in my life, because the squares they gonna indulge in gambling and everything else, right? But they're more prone to fucking going to the authorities and stuff like that. So so anyway, so when you're a runner, a guy who has a sheet in the book, as long if you have good customers, you'll be safe. Guys who are reliable, like
Correct.
reliable gamblers and stuff.
Correct.
You're good. But the bookie may have a deal with you where the bookie may have the muscle and stuff like that. It all depends.
Correct.
So anyway, so when you're dealing with big money,
Yeah.
the type of money I never dealt with. I dealt with big money, but not like some of this other shit. Like,
Now
let's say you got a shot lock.
If you don't mind me asking, this is like a real deal podcast. How much money were you making back then a week? Were you making 1,000 a week, 2,000, 3,000 at your peak? What were you making a week roughly? At your peak?
Before you talking about before I went to the can?
Correct. Yes.
I couldn't give you an exact number, but we could figure out a number. I'm pretty sure.
Got it.
It's me, my two business partners. We had the fucking security fraud thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
So you say with that, within a day, let's just say on average, let's say $3,000, right? Let's just say daily doing that shit. So you got to split that up 3 ways. So it's $1,000 for me, $1,000 for this guy, $1,000 for this guy. Then you got the pest control thing. The pest control is decent money and it's legit. If you were doing fumigation, that's like $500 to fumigate a room at that time.
Yeah.
If you're doing like some bullshit like spraying the tempo fucking sprays like $200, you making a couple of grand, I would say. Not nothing crazy. I would say amongst all of us, a couple of grand a day.
Now,
About a
were you,
couple of grand, I mean like probably
yeah.
2 grand.
Now, were you stacking your chips and being smart about it, or were you selling it, or were you spending a lot of money?
I would say for me, I'm smart. I was always smarter.
Okay.
Me, I
Okay.
was always smarter. Like even now, I was always smarter. Like I came out the can, a lot of guys look at it like, damn man, you afloat.
Yeah.
I got my own place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not like the trolls say I don't live in my mother's basement. I got my own spot, you know? I got my own spot, you know,
I gotcha.
my own vehicle. But people have, everybody's idea of wealth is not the same.
Correct.
Like I remember I had a broad not too long ago, and the mom's like, "Oh, why doesn't this guy have his own house?" And it's like, I'm a bachelor. I'm in New York City.
Yeah.
That's smart. I don't think that's dumb.
Correct.
Why? Because paying your mortgage is cheaper to me than renting.
Correct.
Like my spot is $2,500 a month to rent. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
In Brooklyn
Yeah.
or the Bronx or
Yeah. Whatever it is.
Queens or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
right? You may get an 1,800 a month deal in New York City, maybe. But anyway, um, so I know how to, and I'm not a degenerate gambler.
Correct.
So you got to be mindful of that. So at that time period, I say we're making about a couple grand a piece a day. That's, but it's something to us at that time. Believe that.
Correct.
So now, if you take me, I didn't deal with no type of narcotics or nothing like that.
Yeah.
My partner David, he was always a cokehead. It doesn't mean that you're gonna see him and he's crazy looking like he's on coke. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
that. That's what he was doing.
Correct. Correct.
And I knew because part of what I was doing at that time was selling coke. Part of it. And he'll buy a bunch of coke. And I'm like, damn, no wonder he's so obsessed. Like his whole brain is wired to make money all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, what can we do to generate some more money? So certain things are supplemental,
All right.
like you
So,
guys were talking about. And
yeah. Well,
yeah,
hold
good.
on. So I want to kind of edge along a little bit. So at this point, you're making some money, you're doing your thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then, as I understand, you get a pinch at some point.
Mm-hmm.
What was it for?
Right.
Whatever you're comfortable talking about. What was it for, and how has it like? How did that all pan out?
All right. So what happened with that is in the neighborhood that we're shitting in, right?
Yeah.
Um, the neighborhood we're whatever doing our third in. Something happened that dealt with our racketeering activities.
Got it.
Put it like that. So different people are gonna have problems with you racketeering in the neighborhood,
Correct.
right? You don't want to racketeer where you live at, but different people are gonna have problems,
Correct.
and that could be all type of different people. I don't want to get specific, but people that have problems with that. That problem is gonna lead to something that's gonna get physical,
Of
usually.
course. Of course.
So anyway, a certain problem arose dealing with our particular team, and in that problem, what wound up happening is wound up having to kill a guy, right? So
Whoa. Okay. That went. That went.
yeah,
That went from 0 to 100 quickly. Okay. Fair enough.
yeah. So and there was other things happening for sure, but the bad thing about this was it happened and not Remember before I talked about the scumbag Italian way?
Yeah.
This didn't happen like that, which was bad.
Got it.
Right? The
Yeah.
scumbag Italian way, it would have been good. It
Correct.
would have been good, but it just didn't happen that way in this instance. So anyway, so I wound up having to clip a guy, and it's in the same neighborhood where like the Panisi guy caught his homicide way long ago. Same neighborhood.
Got it.
So yeah, so this happens. The guys that we're with, they stood tall, but the victim, and I don't want to wake the dead, you know what I mean? God
Yeah.
bless the dead. But the victim had a relative who was a witness. So the victim's relative is the only person who made a statement. Put it that way.
Got it.
Everybody else kept it tall. Even my business partner, he was there, and he was like, even like when I wound up going to the can, he's like, listen, man, don't cop out. I'm telling you, you. He's like, you good, man. They don't with homicide. Um, it's not that easy to prove. And that as far as like when you're dealing with something that the state is taking up.
Well, you need intent. There's three criteria: intent, motive.
Yeah, it's going to be hard when you're just dealing with circumstantial evidence. But if the feds pick up a case,
Okay.
it gets harder
It's lights out.
because
Yeah.
it's easier to convict upon hearsay with the feds.
So you got offered 12
That's why, like,
years. You got offered 12 years. What, like man two? Like what were you offered, man two, or what were you offered at that point? And what did
no, at first, what happens in New York City is if they suspect you, they're gonna charge you with a murder too. That's typical.
Ooh,
Murder in the second degree. That's
yeah,
just typical.
yeah.
Typical protocol. Murder in the first degree is premeditation, a premeditated
Correct.
thing. They you would have to be a real chooch. You have to be a real chooch for no offense to law enforcement, but you would have to be a real chooch to like get caught in a first degree murder because
Correct.
that's premeditated.
Correct.
So what I mean is like how you do the thing. You know what I mean? So so you get charged with the murder in the second degree. So in New York, that's 25 to life is what the statute is on that, 25 to life.
Correct.
The thing is this: if it remains a state matter, it's going to be hard to convict on circumstantial evidence.
Correct.
Circumstantial evidence is, oh yeah, the police or the homicide squad. That's who would take up a murder case. They're gonna check the victim's phone records, or who
Correct.
called them.
Correct.
Let's see who's gonna talk, so on and so forth. They do ballistics also, like, oh, let's see what direction the bullet came from. They do that. But it's very hard to convict because much of the evidence is going to be circumstantial. Unless a guy gets.
Oh, he's buffering. Why is buffering? Horsemen or anybody else wants to come in? I dropped the link below and jump in. Oh, I lost him. Cuban B, I will ask him what is going on there.
Yeah, pardon me. I crashed for some
reason.
reason.
All right, hold on. Question. How old are you when this is going on? How old?
The homicide thing?
Yeah.
With the homicide thing, 21.
Jesus, you're a kid. Shit. So bottom line, what did you wind up settling for on your conviction? I'm guessing man, but what did you wind up accepting for your conviction?
Say that again. Let me try to get better reception.
So,
Say that again.
so I understand you did 12 years. So I'm
Right.
guessing you accepted a lower charge for, like, I'm guessing manslaughter too, or what was the charge?
Oh
And
yeah,
what?
no. It got reduced to manslaughter 1. So what happens is
Okay,
there's other elements that come into that. Like they don't have the murder weapon.
correct.
Like, and we don't have double jeopardy either. Unless you're like in the military catching a crime, there's no double jeopardy. So I could say nowadays, like, okay, I threw the murder weapon in the sewer, which is what I did.
Yeah,
It was never found. It doesn't matter if they found it nowadays. You
correct.
can't charge me for double jeopardy. Can't happen. I was already convicted and did the time. So they didn't have the murder weapon. None of my guys said anything, which I appreciate them for that. You know what I mean? Because I was worried, like, damn, man, I hope they don't say nothing. But the guy who got clipped, his relative was saying something, so that becomes a chance you have to take. Like, am I going to go to trial? Like, I could probably beat this, maybe. But once a guy is talking, man, that's how that's how most homicides get solved from people talking. But most homicides don't get solved.
Correct. So you
The
did all.
detectives know, but
So what
it's
did you
so
want to?
circumstantial.
Correct. So hold on, because there's a lot more to cover, and I want the four horsemen to come in, or anybody else wants to come in. Rob, come in on audio. Rob, please. But Bay Eighth, Vinny, Jason, the four horsemen. Anybody else will do it correctly and appropriately. But so hold on. So how long did you wind up serving? 12 years. How much?
Say that again, Tom.
Yeah. How much time did you wind up serving?
Oh, I got sentenced to 14 years, and I did 12 out of the 14 because in New York we have 85%.
Got it.
Uh,
Now in
so you got to do 85% of your time.
yeah. Now also in jail, right? Were you like the Italian?
Mm.
Who did you stay with and who did you hang out with in jail?
In jail, I stood mostly independent, but I still dealt with everybody. Like the guys in the Italian car, I was good with them.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like the guys in the Italian car, like I like to read.
Yeah.
I'm a street guy, but I love to study. I love to
Yeah.
read and stuff like that. And some of the guys in the Italian car funny. You'll be like, yo, check out this book. They'll be like, fuck that book. I live this life. You know what I mean? Like I'm not reading
That's
this.
right. That's right.
Yeah. So I dealt with everybody, but I always in jail, in prison rather, stood away from the different cause, like on a committed level. Like in New York State prison, Brooklyn is you have gangs. You have different cars, which are like groups of people. But as far as like boroughs are concerned, Brooklyn is like the only borough in the state penitentiary in New York that holds weight. Then you'll have the Italian car. You have Greek guys too in New York, believe it or not.
Oh wow.
Like you got Greek gangsters.
Interesting. So you serve your sentence. What is your biggest learning? Or what did you learn most over that 12-year education? Give us what you learned from that time. Because you're the kind of guy that if you serve that time, you did it respectfully, you
Mm-hmm.
paid your debt to society, right? But what did you learn most from that time?
That's a good question. That's the kind of question my uncle would ask me. Some shit that you'll be like, how do I answer this? Oh man, that's like I don't want to say it's a loaded question. Uh,
It is loaded.
I I think for me, it was best for me to learn about myself.
Okay.
I would just say, like, even though that's a vague answer, but um, I learned to know myself. Like, what do I want out of life? Because some guys died instead of um going to prison.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
like I was telling somebody recently, like my Goomba got clipped before I went to the can, and even when I got pinched, homicide was once I got pinched and I'm in the precinct. Homicide by homicide, I mean homicide detectives. They're like, oh, we know your friend got clipped. They know a lot of shit that people might think they don't know.
Correct.
They like, listen, your friend Magumba, like, listen, he got clipped. This who killed them. This guy and this guy here. And I'm looking at the pictures, like the mug shots, and I'm like, oh shit, they're right. But I'm not telling them they're right, but
Correct.
they are right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's this guy and this guy. But the thing is this, nobody's coming forth. So
Yeah.
you have a murder charge. And not only do you have a murder charge, you have these other charges, right?
Yeah.
Because different shit happens when you get pinched.
Correct.
Some people come forth that a fucking witness. It's weird. When you get pinched and you're really doing crimes. Loan sharking is safe. You know what I mean? I'm talking about when you're doing the dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, damn, they know a lot of shit, but I didn't say nothing. They like, listen, we know this is who killed your friend. And we know you know. So what would you like to do? We could put in a word with the district attorney. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you sitting there like, oh shit, he's right. But coming from where I come from, I can't go home. It's not about the fear for me. But I can't go home, man, and my mother's a civilian. My mother's living good now. You know what I mean? But I can't sit in front of my mother and my mother's like, yo, man, my son is a fucking rat. Pardon my French. No.
Oh, I am. Yeah. So hold on.
But
So
the temptation for a week.
yeah. Hold on. So Tony, I am Valadez. Our friend here is Siciliano, half Siciliano, which we'll get into. So Majelio, I have some guests. Joe Bay 8th and the Brooklyn guy who would like to come in on the interview. Are you cool with them popping in?
Who is that?
The other horsemen, Joe and Brooklyn guy, want to pop in, ask a few questions. You cool with that?
Oh yeah. Salute, yeah. Yes,
God
show,
bless.
man. Yeah.
All right.
What up, man?
Oh, the whole crew.
Majelio, I don't want to mispronounce your name. Is that it? Majelio? Can you hear me?
Can you hear Vinny Majelio? Hey Vinny, Majelio, can you hear Vinny? Oh, I think we have
You're kind of breaking up at it.
Okay, hold on.
I don't know if it's on my side. Yes, it is.
Can you hear me okay? Hold on. We got to make sure we're all
okay, I see Vinny popped up now on my screen. I'm sorry if my side is slow.
How are you?
And then I see Joe.
Okay.
What's up, man?
So I think you have a slow connection. Can you hear us okay? Let him set up. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Good. How you doing?
Good interview.
Excellent.
Great interview. He's a great guy. Majelio, can you hear me okay? My cat just bit me.
Yeah.
Majelio, you okay? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So first, let's go Brooklyn guy. Say hello, and if you got any questions.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good.
That's a
Pleasure
good
to meet
question.
you.
So, Vinny, you
I
want
was
to
waiting.
Go
I
ahead.
was waiting to go into Al, but he's having some technical issues, I guess. So I just wanted to say hello. I haven't really been following it, although I did follow some, and of course, it's always a great interview. He's a great guest, from what I heard. But I will obviously listen to this whole thing later. But it's a pleasure to meet you, and I just wanted to stay in and listen to some of the story.
Nice. Joe, I know
Okay.
Joe has questions. Joe, take it away.
Whoa. What's up, my friend? How are you?
How you doing, Joe?
Good. I've actually listened to your show. I'm actually subscribed to your channel. We chatted back and forth
Okay.
a few times. We have a lot of the same interests. So I wanted to ask you,
Okay.
what's up with Poe? What's up with Alpo? What happened in your mind?
I can't say because I don't want to say who the suspects are.
Now, I'm not saying
Which I know who the
suspects. I'm just
suspects
saying,
are.
like, do you think it
Oh.
was like run up to the car type thing or setup, or they just kind of like were rolling through and saw him? You think the chick set him up?
Nah, yeah, you always know there's a broad involved. You
Yep.
know that. Nah, he was dumb, man. Like the guys in that area. One thing we know about homicide detectives, they're not dumb. You know what I mean? They know their shit. But a lot of stuff is circumstantial, so they're not gonna necessarily release that information. Nah, somebody walked up on him
That's what I think. Yep.
that's in that area. And the usual suspects, homicide knows who the usual suspects are as far as with his case, with his instance. And yeah, that they walked up on him and clipped him.
Yep. I can't believe how brazen he was to think that he could just, you know what I mean, go back. I mean, man, he took down RP, who was a big dude, man. He was loved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shit's crazy. I wonder what that fool 6ix9ine is thinking right now. He better up the bodyguards.
So Majelio, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So just like your analysis, only your analysis, no first-hand information. So why is it that the drug gang, right, respectfully, hit somebody in WITSEC or former WITSEC, right? But Cosa Nostra that has multiple associates, multiple people on the street, hitters, people in a whole organization, organizational structure, heritage. I can go on and on. Why does LCM allow informants to live in neighborhoods versus the drug gang kind of took care of Alpo just for showing up? Why do you think?
It's not that Cosa Nostra allows that. It's just if you look at a guy like Alpo, because it's relevant to your question, Alpo could have stood in Maine, right?
Correct.
He could have stood there and been safe.
Yeah.
But he decides to go to Frederick Douglass Boulevard, where he has enemies, and it's not hard to figure out who his enemies are. It's not hard to figure out.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So you're over there, 3:00 in the morning. It would be the same thing with Cosa Nostra. I'm not trying to be funny, but Cosa Nostra is not soft, man. You look at the case now, not to open up a can of worms, but you look at like the situation with Panisi and everything going on with that case in the Bronx, right?
Yeah.
That's not that long ago.
Yeah.
It's not an informant situation, but it's a situation where a guy got clipped, right?
Correct.
So how did he get clipped? So you will get clipped. It's just where you place yourself. You even saw like Sammy the Bull was like, oh yeah, when he came out of the can, and he's like, oh yeah, he said, I'm not saying, he said, oh yeah, Peter Gotti sent such and such to come get me.
Yeah.
What do you think? Yeah, people. It's just Alpo decided he wants to. You want to come to the gutter where individuals will pop you. But if you don't go back to that place,
It doesn't happen.
Right. Sammy's not hanging in Staten Island at 3:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hold on. So Majelio, you in your channel talk about the original plight of the Sicilians and the Sicilian Cosa Nostra, the true Cosa Nostra, that it was done out of need, that it was done out of necessity. Has Cosa Nostra gone soft because they made money?
No, it's not that it's gotten soft. It's just Cosa Nostra was, hot, meaning the feds are on you. Like if you look at the street gangs, right?
Yeah.
The street gangs are not. They're not racketeering organizations.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that people don't racketeer that are in gangs, like the Bloods or Crips, but only certain factions will be involved in racketeering. So it's not illegal to be a part of an organization.
Correct.
Just like if you're a made guy.
Yeah.
The authorities would probably know if you're a made guy, but it's not illegal to be that.
Hold on. I am going to ask Majelio. I know the answer to this. Why is it not illegal in the United States to belong to a certain society? I will let him go.
I think because a lot of us are part of things like
that's right.
With Freemasonry, you've had civilians that try to say, we don't want Freemasonry to exist.
Correct.
But how many judges, lawyers, regular guys in society are Freemasons?
Correct.
Like, so why would it? Like, law is important to understand. It's important, especially if you're racketeering. Like, the good thing about America, and I'm not promoting crime, but the good thing about America is that we have a union, meaning you have 50 states plus, territories. All 50 states don't have the same laws.
Correct.
So once you know the law, you can know how to maneuver within it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like let's say I'm not gonna get too deep into this, but like let's say we have the car racket, right?
Yeah.
Which the Albanians are strong in that. The Armenians are I wouldn't say the Italians have some stuff going on with that, but the Albanians and the Armenians, they're heavy in the car hustle in the United States, like getting foreign cars. And that's not a hard racket to figure out if you know the law. Like how
Majelio, sorry. I just want to tell you, I think that's a very underrated statement. I think people learn the laws. I was involved in gambling, and Nassau County had one of the roughest courts for gamblers. So what they used to do is Nassau County, there's a building, you may be familiar with it, called the North Shore Towers. It's literally 400 feet off the LIE, Grand Central, 400 feet from Nassau County, and it's in Queens. And guys would set up offices in there that lived 3 blocks away because Nassau County was miserable. They would go after you terribly. Queens, easier. Bronx was the best because Bronx was always opened all night. You could get bailed out at 3 o'clock in the morning in the Bronx, where you'd have to wait for court in the morning. So guys would set up in the Bronx. So if you get busted, you're out in the middle of the night and you post bail. The judge is 24/7. And all the gamblers, bookmakers back in the day, you're absolutely right. They know every law.
Yeah. So it's like if you have a sheet, right? Not to get too deep into it. Like you have a sheet, right? You're under a bookie, let's just say. And a guy, all right, let's say a guy places a bet. All right, like we're in New York. A guy's in fucking Connecticut, hypothetically speaking. He calls you to place, or he calls your clerk to place a bet with you.
It's
like
interesting.
He's on your sheet. Yeah, exact for him, not for you.
Right. Absolutely right.
Right.
One thing I wanted to add though is, let's say a federal informant is killed. Okay, you could pick any one of them. Let's say, God forbid, John Panisi, just to throw out a name.
God forbid.
Do you know what is going to happen to the people, the organization that the FBI believes could be associated with that? Because the FBI's goal is to have people cooperate and show people that we could keep them safe. Because if you start killing federal informants, people are going to start saying, wait a minute, man, this ain't as easy as I thought.
Absolutely
You can't
right.
just rat on someone and go off into the sunlight and have a YouTube channel. So they're going to fight like hell,
Right.
the government, to smash whoever is involved, the heat would be tremendous. And it would be put on people that might not have anything to do with it. So if I'm the boss of the family, I'm going to say, hell no, you ain't doing that. No, forget it. It's over. It's done with.
Yeah.
Because that person and that family, it'll be a target, and in no time they'll be taken down. This whole thing with Alpo, this was personal. This seems like it could have been family. He killed Demencio. He killed a lot of people, man. These people have families, have kids, have grandkids that are on the streets. Completely different situation. What he did. He killed his best friend or one of his close friends over some bullshit. Why'd he take Demencio down? Why? Because of some girl or something? Come on, man. From what I hear, Demencio was a good dude. He hooked a lot of people up, man. He took care of a lot of people. So.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I'm done talking now. We got the mans here.
All right. So, Majelio, I'd like to introduce you to Jason, a.k.a. JSP Capital. Good guy, is a friend of one of the four horsemen. You probably never saw him because he never comes on. He only comes on for good interviews, which is one of yours. And Jason, say hello to Majelio, and feel free to ask him a question you like.
You should
Tom,
feel very special,
I have
bro.
to run for a show. So listen, it was a pleasure meeting you, Majelio. Thank you for having me on. I'll talk to you later, guys. Be well, everybody.
Talk to you later, Vin.
Okay.
Be good, Vinny.
Pleasure meeting you, man.
So, Jason, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I had to shut off my my YouTube.
No worries. Majelio has been generous with his time. He's a friend. You're gonna probably see him with the four horsemen in person. He's a nice guy. Any questions you have for him while he's on?
Well, I actually enjoyed the interview. I watched most of it, not all of it. It's a long interview, but I enjoyed it a lot.
So, any questions you have?
No, not right now. I just jumped on. I'm usually prepared with questions. I just jumped on because I kept checking to see when I can come in, and then finally it came up, and I'm like, oh, okay, here we go.
Well, I do have a question because Majelio likes to play chess, not checkers, right? So with Alpo, whoever killed him. We don't know, and it is what it is, right? And I get what Bayeth is saying. Hey, you know what? You have to be careful because they're federal witnesses, maybe undue pressure. They may hurt your rackets, right? But what's the cost-benefit analysis of somebody taking out an informant to kind of enforce the rules versus the cost of having some of your commerce interrupted. Walk us through the mentality you think could be the cost benefit analysis of hitting an informant for LCN. What are your thoughts?
You want me to answer first?
Of course. For you.
All right. Remember how I said like a little while ago, right?
Yeah.
It's not that easy to prove a murder. It's not.
True.
The police may want, or the feds may want you to think it is. It's not. It's not easy to prove a murder, especially with circumstantial evidence. With the feds, what happens is that, most of the convictions are based on hearsay. It's weird because the feds tend to like violate your constitutional rights.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
They just do. Like the Fourth Amendment, for example. Let's say I'm driving or whatever. I'm driving in my car. I got fucking 10 pounds of weed in my trunk, hypothetically.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I get stopped. Whatever, they search me, they find the weed. When I go to court under the state, if you can't prove that you didn't violate my Fourth Amendment right, it may sound dumb to people who don't know the law, but guess what? If you violated my Fourth Amendment right and stopping my car and finding that weed in there, I would guarantee you I'm beating the case. I would guarantee. I don't care if you found 4 pounds of weed on me. You violated my Fourth Amendment right. Why did you search me? Why? How? What was your reason? It can't be a traffic violation. Clause. Trust me, yes. But with the feds, they go more with the, like, for example, wiretapping you. Technically, that violates your Fourth Amendment right. Technically.
Yeah, but they get around that.
Yeah, legally.
Because they could, if they pull you over and they could say, "Oh, we smell weed in the car. Let me check your trunk." I mean, trust me, they got the angles covered. You're probably right. You could beat it.
Yeah.
Most people just figure, believe me, they could get you if they really want to get you.
Yeah, but listen, JSV, I know for sure you're beating that if it's a state thing. I know 100% for sure.
Yeah, of course.
If you're lawyered up, beat. It doesn't matter if they found the 4 pounds on you. You're beating that. With the feds, though, the feds have a way through RICO of violating your constitutional rights. Like planting bugs. You think planting bugs is legal, bro? That violates your Fourth Amendment. Right. You're coming into my fucking house without my permission and planting a bug there.
Mm-hmm. They got to get a judge's order to do that.
Yeah, so with the feds, it's a different game.
Yeah. No, hold on. Hold on. I got an important question for Majelio. So you on your channel talks about Freemasonry, right? Am I okay? Right. I should hear an echo. Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hold on. I got my batteries all. Hold on, make sure we don't shut out. Okay. So you talk about Freemasonry on your channel. My big thing is in Italy, especially the Calabrians, and I know you're a proud Siciliano, right? But the Calabrians indoctrinated themselves with the Freemasonry in the past, particularly the P2 laws and so forth, right? Why doesn't the American LCN adopt more of a Freemasonry approach versus what they're doing now? I would like to know your opinion.
Say the last part of your statement again.
So my big thing, and people just get on me, but my big thing is, why doesn't Cosa Nostra here in the U.S. adopt a Calabrian style Freemasonry type situation where you might be 80% legit, 90% legit. You have your social clubs, all the Lucchese social clubs. Freemasons don't hide, brother.
understand.
Why doesn't the LCN adopt a Freemasonry situation? In your
I
opinion?
don't think there's a big difference. Listen, I don't think there's a big difference. Like, the like Anglo-Saxon guys, they're gonna say they'll try to rebut what I'm saying now, but Freemasonry is it's like a sophisticated gang, man. That's
Correct.
and I'm not being biased because I'm in it. It's a sophisticated gang.
Correct.
So with Cosa Nostra, for example, you have people on different levels, man. You have people on different levels. Like, you see how y'all did the episode which I liked, and you guys talked about, it was called like being on the fringe or something like that.
Yes.
And you guys talked about gambling, which I know about gambling to some degree, but that wasn't my racket. I understand it to a degree. I didn't deal with anything in gambling until I was in prison making spreadsheets. But I knew about it when I was in the streets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have to be connected to, like I said, you have to be connected to, if you have a sheet in a guy's book, like I know Vinny was talking about, I read the comments too a little bit, and some guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I'm not saying you guys, I'm saying some commentators.
No, it actually we don't. It's okay.
Yeah, what I got from it, I didn't watch the whole episode, but I try to watch what I could. You know what I mean? Because I do things throughout the day. What I got from it was like, the gentlemen were what I would call runners, which I don't mean it on a low level runners. I'm just using like a generic term. Like, you have a bookie and you have a sheet in the book. You have customers. It seemed to me like I didn't listen to the whole episode, but from what I did listen to, it sounded to me like most of the guys, I'm not gonna say all, had like a half sheet, you know, like they if the house, all right, they have a half sheet. If the house, let me not say the house, if their customers win, the bookie covers that, but he has to make up for it
Right.
in the future. But if a person is a runner, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to go out personally collecting. You know what I mean? Some guys do have to go out and collect, like, okay, these are my customers and shit. Let me make sure that they pay, or whatever the case may be. But if the bookie has all of that type of shit covered,
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's I listened to it. I was like, it was cool. I liked it. It was a good episode.
No, but hold on. I want to go deeper.
Tom.
Okay, go ahead.
Tom, I need you to. We talked about this the other day. I need you to explain this question a little more, because I'm not understanding it all the way.
Okay.
What do you mean by have local? Let me ask my question, Tom.
I know what you're gonna say. Go.
I mean, guys, I get 2 words in. He goes, all right, I get 2 words in here.
Ask your question. Done. Next.
What do you mean by Freemasonry and La Cosa Nostra? What approach does? I don't know a lot about Freemasonry. What approach do they have that La Cosa Nostra should try and do? What is it that what?
So I'm gonna answer the question only because I posed it, but I'm going to have Majelio. I reserve the right for Majelio to correct me. Okay, Freemasonry is a brotherhood of gentlemen that are like-minded people that have different temple and outposts in every city in this country that get together and congregate for a specific purpose, and they are part of the fabric of society. The fabric woven in to the fabric, right? Cosa Nostra is on the fringes of society, not a strong, tightly held brotherhood because they don't have a purpose. It's about making money right now, right? In the past, it was different. It's about making money. So I believe in my armchair MBA that if Cosa Nostra instilled a purpose, a brotherhood, and got itself woven into the fabric of society, like Costello tried to do, Luciano tried to do, Meyer Lansky tried to do, they would benefit from it. So I will start the Jeet and have Majelio weigh in. I could be right, I could be wrong, but I'll have Majelio respond.
Miguel, could you explain again? I have no idea what is Freemasons today in today's society. What positions do they hold, and what do they do for each other, for the community? I don't even know what they do.
That's
They don't want you to know.
Yeah, no.
I'll tell you one thing.
No,
I'll tell you one thing. You know what? And again, I know nothing about him, and I don't want to insult anybody, but I know people that really ain't the best kind of people that have come up to me before and be like, yeah, I'm going to a Freemason meeting. They asked me to be in, and I'm going to go in, and then, like a member's got to ask another member. And I'm looking at this guy going, this guy got asked to be in?
Yep.
So
You know why you're right about that? Whoever just said that, I have an apprentice, right? Like right now. And you're absolutely right. He was telling me that he's like, yo, I see these mainstream, there are different streams of Freemasonry. Freemasonry is not a centralized organization.
Correct.
And he was telling me that he's like, what's up with these commoners, basically? Is what he was telling me, like, what the fuck, this commoner right here? But in our lodge, we're more, I would say elite. I don't want to say elite like the Rothschilds. I just mean like, we're men of great thinking and stuff like that. And being an apprentice, he was like, this mainstream masonry, which is like the 501c7, not 501c7, 501c8 and 501c10 corporations.
Yeah.
They're social clubs. So the brother's 100, the brother who just said that is 100% correct. That's the social club type of a thing. So, and Freemasonry is not centralized. Freemasonry is, you have all type of different like organizations
within that, gotcha.
Different brands, if you want to say that.
Right.
So to the question that you were saying, Tom, with Cosa Nostra, Cosa Nostra, like, it's gonna survive as what it is because of the traditional thing. You see how some people say, like, you mentioned like Meyer Lansky, right? That's what you mentioned. Luciano.
Correct.
A guy like Meyer Lansky didn't want his family into being gangsters.
Correct.
Right? He was a Jewish gangster. The Jewish gangs didn't have a ethnic. Like I was trying to explain to this other guys, I don't think it's hard to explain, but maybe it is for some people to grasp it. With the Sicilians, it's a cultural thing. It's just, you see, like I mentioned earlier, my old landlady when I lived in Forest Hills before I went away to college. I'm still cool with her. I love her. She's family. She's Sicilian. Her family is in the mob. She's not gonna look at us as, oh, I look down on you. You went to the can. Even when we were doing our rackets, like that just comes from our culture.
Correct.
It's just how we are, but it's gonna be misconstrued as being racketeering, because it's, look, in America, all right, if you're a businessman, like you have legitimate businessmen, they understand the concept also. I want to evade taxes, right? Because it's capitalism. You want to maximize your profit.
Correct.
That's the objective.
Correct.
If you're a legitimate businessman, you want to try to do that legally. I want to maximize my profit. Part of maximizing my profit is evading taxes.
No, we're not
Period.
evading.
You got
We're minimizing.
Yeah, minimizing. I have a question. I want to change subjects a little bit.
Yeah.
I noticed you did something, Majelio, on Bitcoin. What is your take on that?
I'm
Is it a
investing
good
in
thing
Bitcoin
to get
for
into?
sure.
Because I'm on the fringes of it now, and everybody says yes, no, yes, no.
I would say that Bitcoin is probably like past its time. Like I did invest in it, but I was in a can when it was like the thing, you know, the time in which you would make a massive profit. I
Right.
was in a can, but I still invested in it once I came home. I did invest in Dogecoin, and that was good for me. I made a very nice profit.
Dogecoin? Okay.
Yeah, which is another cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when you're dealing with something like, let's say, crypto, it's, to me, it's like with the stock market. I look at things like that as more long term.
Right.
You have certain guys, like you see when you guys did your episode on the gambling thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. Everybody's not gonna fucking get it because it sounds complex to them. It sounds complex. I get it.
Yeah.
But it sounds complex to them. So you guys were touching upon why, like, I know Tom was asking it. You were explaining it. Not Tom, you. But Tom was asking the questions. And you were like, listen, man, some guys are just wired that way.
Yeah.
Like they just wanna earn.
Yeah.
Like me, I see myself as a Sicilian, but business wise, I consider myself like I don't think I'm Jewish, but I consider myself to kind of be like a Jew in the sense that I started to learn like, and Italians are like this in general as far as street Italians, but it's like if I buy something, that thing I buy, I want it to make me more money. That's the key to it.
Mm-hmm.
But you have some guys who are capital gains guys in the streets. I'm talking about. They're capital gains guys. Like I want to earn, like on the street level. You have the guys who want to rob a drug dealer. That's their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I want to rob a dealer. They're plotting, and that's what they're looking for. Now, if you're in the ghetto, like not necessarily the ghetto, but like, you know, in the city, vibrant neighborhoods, if you want to say that, people know that drug dealers are how they're working cars, for example. So you have a guy who run through a neighborhood in the inner city, like, yo, let me try to pop trunks and see who has kilos in these trunks. You will find those type of things. Because in the inner city, you're gonna see more drug dealing. Like you'll see it in middle class too, but most of the drugs on it, you know, as far as like moving weight, is gonna come from in New York City, the inner city. So you have guys that are just looking for capital gain. Like, oh, let me go here and rob a drug dealer. Why? A drug dealer, what is he gonna do? Call the cops on me?
Right.
What are you gonna say?
They're
I robbed
not.
you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, I'm more, I think more in terms of keeping a steady income stream, various ones coming in. overtime. But you
Yeah.
have guys that will never break out of capital gains. So when Tom asked that question and I heard everybody answering it amongst like the 4 horsemen, it was a good dialogue. Because the other guys are trying to explain, like, listen, man, some guys just that's what they do. That's their whole mind is on scheming every day, 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
How do I make more money?
A criminal doesn't look for like 5 years down the road because they might not have it tomorrow. You know what I mean? So they got to get that now.
Yeah,
not thinking down the line.
some of us do, but you have the guys that don't. And the same thing translates to the legitimate business world. Like if you're dealing with real estate, you'll have those guys who want to sell you on, let me show you how to flip a house.
Mm-hmm.
That's a capital gains guy. And then you have the guy that's like, no, I want to buy the property and I'll rent it out.
Correct.
And over time, I have an income stream. I'm always going to eat.
Yep.
But you're always going to have the capital gains guys, even in the legitimate business world. But in the legitimate business world, you have to pay a bigger tax for a capital gain earning. So, you know, the streets are like that too, man. I don't think hustling is much different in the legitimate world than what it is in the street world. Just to me, I don't think there's a big difference.
The guys Tom's referring to, these mobsters, these bosses that, you know, get into like legitimate business, those are called politicians. Okay. They get out of the mob game, they become a politician. Because believe me, they kill people too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So hold on, we have JSV back. So we got a few more minutes. JSV, any questions for our esteemed guest tonight?
Yeah, I know. I missed part of it with Alpo, and you guys talking about that. So excuse me if I'm just being repetitive here on this interview, but I am interested to hear what our man has to say about what's going on with that. What do they think happened? Obviously, we can assume, but I'm sure he has more of his ear to the street on that. What his opinion on what happened with him?
He got too cocky in the street, man. He shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, like now, like, you know, once again, I would say, I know most of y'all like tri-state, right? More or less.
We all are, yeah.
I'm in Staten Island.
Hold on, and we will
Yeah,
visit you in
that's
the
the
Bronx.
5 boroughs. Yeah.
We're gonna visit you in the Bronx soon. The entire 4 horsemen.
Yeah, that'll be nice. So with like I'm in Pelham. I'm almost always in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I told you, like, Tom, like if I see somebody saying something on social media like Mikey knows he's doing this and they're following him and weird shit like that, like I get what they're doing, but like, okay. So with Harlem politics, I would just say this, my guys. For me, it's not hard to figure out.
Exactly.
It's not hard to figure out as far as, again, who are going to be the usual suspects over there. I just don't want to say that because these guys are in the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if we're having dinner, you know what I mean? We're eating steak and stuff like that, you know,
Obviously,
drinking some wine. We'll talk, you know, but it's not fucking hard to figure out. And again, homicide detectives, you see how you guys mentioned earlier, like Alpo was obviously he was in WITSEC. When a guy's in WITSEC, they don't have 24-hour bodyguards. I don't know why some people think that. Like, oh yeah, this guy has fucking handlers with him all day, every day. No. The job of the handlers is to say, okay, let's say somebody saw you, and it's like, oh, this is this guy. Report it, and then we move you to another location, a safer location, or you have some type of a venue and you feel that you need a U.S. Marshal to come escort you.
Right.
So for guys in which second he decides he's just gonna go drive off, which is what like Alpo was doing. Like, oh yeah, he's living in Maine, but I'm gonna go to Harlem and go hang out. What do you think? The marshals are fucking staying in his house, sitting on a stoop 24/7? That's not how it works.
Correct.
And the government is clearly going to say that Alpo was not in Witsec. He had the ID with a different name. They're gonna distance themselves as far as they can from it, because what happens if he was in Witsec and got killed? Well, there goes your theory of people believing that they have 24-hour security, so they're going to fight like hell to say, nah, man, he left. That's why he got killed. We had him safe, but he left. So
exactly. So Joe knows the deal, man. It's just basic common street knowledge. So yeah. So, but again, if you know, which is not hard to figure out, I don't want to use the politically incorrect terms. But I was saying recently, like you have a certain demographic of people that like to publish everything that's going on in their neighborhoods. So it's like, cops are not dumb. It's just don't if you're a civilian, don't think that real life is like a CSI episode. They're gonna spend all of this money to go find out. Trust me, the usual suspects, as far as the outpost situation, the authorities are already looking at certain people. And I personally want to say who it is. I would hope those guys.
You think they're putting a lot of effort into solving the case?
Probably.
No, remember, you guys know how this goes. Why would they cost money? It's just like going to trial. You see how some guys start to learn about the judicial system? Like me, if I have a judicial case, whether it's civil or it's criminal, it costs money for the prosecution to go forth. I'm not dumb. Like, listen. Yep. Go ahead. Take it. Go ahead. Take it where you want to take it. Costs money. It's not free. So you have a lot of street guys who know the rules. You know what I mean? They know the rules, and what incentive is there? What incentive is there to solve that? I was locked up with a guy when I was in Greenhaven Correctional Facility. I was locked up with the guy who killed I want to say is one of the Rockefellers, but the politician guy. Anyway, I want to say it's Nelson Rockefeller, but I may be.
He was the governor. Yeah, it probably was Nelson Rockefeller. Yeah, one of his descendants.
Yeah, and his niece was killed. This is before any of our times. But I do know the guy's niece was killed, and the guy who killed the niece, he was in Greenhaven with me, but I used to work in the hospital when I was in Greenhaven Correctional Facility. And if you worked in the hospital, that was like how you see how the movie Goodfellas is. It was just like that. Like anybody can't work in the hospital. But if you did work in the hospital in Greenhaven, it was like the movie Goodfellas. You got your stove, you got your rooms, which are medical rooms and stuff. Like you're not doing time like the rest of the pigs or whatever. And the guy who killed the Rockefeller guy's niece, he was there, but he died in prison. They never let him out. When I met him, it's because he was a hospital patient. He would come up there. The guy was like fucking maybe 70 years old. He died in jail. They were never going to let him go to parole board because he killed this Rockefeller guy's niece. It was a high-profile case. they were never gonna let him out of prison. Never.
Yeah.
Good point.
So,
yeah.
but that's different. The point I'm making is that's different. That's a high profile guy's family member. If you got a guy like Alpo, who cares? Except for like what Joe was saying, which is, all right, we don't want to look bad because this guy's in the program and then he got whacked.
Good point. So we're gonna go round robin with the final questions. But Joe's been more than generous with his time. Joe, any final questions for our esteemed guest?
Yeah. Who do you like more? Are you a Notorious B.I.G. or a Tupac guy?
I'm more of a Tupac guy.
Me too.
What?
Okay. Yep, me too.
What, Joe? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hold
but
on.
I'm not.
How do I kick out? Hold on. Really?
Yeah, nowadays I'm not too much into the rap thing. Like I gotta mention my homeboy Mob Rats Exposed. I gotta mention him. There's different forums. You know, I don't. I'm like now. I'm more of a Renaissance man now. Way more.
Wait, hold on.
You know, I listen to Chicago. I listen to Billy Joel. I listen.
Wait, really
to
quick.
Yeah, I listened to Queen Culture Club. I told him the other night I was listening to Boy George.
guys,
Yeah.
really quick. I don't care about monetization. I don't care about anything. I'm going to share something. And if this doesn't change your mind, I can't help you. Okay, ready? Hold on.
That's Biggie, right?
I got to do this correctly. Hold on. Ready? Now, this is on the street freestyle. On the street freestyle.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Biggie Smalls.
Tupac was an actor.
Wait, so what? I don't know.
Tupac was what?
He was an actor. He was an art guy. He was licking Jada Pinkett Smith's ass. That's a fucking talk about a street guy.
Can you hear this?
Yo, y'all crazy. I can't believe this.
First off, fuck your bitch and click you claim.
Oh, man.
All right, hold on, Majelio.
That ends the battle right
Joe's
there.
about to have me listening to some Tupac. Go ahead.
Okay, Majelio. Sony Studios. Who orders that hit? The drug dealer or Biggie? On Tupac.
Say that one more time. Pardon me.
The Sony Studios hit on Tupac when he got hit. Was it the drug dealer that he was dealing with? Was it Biggie Smalls, or was it the Mohawk? Who did it?
Oh, you being funny. That's before.
If you knew the Mohawk, you wouldn't think he's funny.
JSV, right?
Yeah.
What's JSV? What's your name, JSV?
Jason Scott Venturelli.
He didn't ask for the whole name. He wanted your first name.
I know you guys.
Well, he said JSV.
That's your nickname, like Tom the Hat.
Oh, okay. I got
Jason the Mohawk, but I'd just rather say Jason.
Jason, I go by Jason. There you go.
Vinny, this JSV is giving out loans to everyone but me and you. How come?
I guess you don't need it. You don't like me. The Mohawk is running. The Mohawk's running. It's like a ventriloquist. Mohawk runs his head.
I tried to get money off him. He denied me.
No way. No way.
I have one question for you, Majelio, because I was in and out. I lost contact. This goes back to half hour with the Masons. A, Do you guys still, a two-part question, not a two-pack question, Joe. A, do you guys still meet 4 times a year to talk to new members? And B, what is the penalty? Because you're supposed to be a quiet society, and I think it's because overall there's more intelligence, and you guys aren't walking around with $4,000 suits. But so it's easier. You fit into society a lot better than a gangster does. But is there a penalty if you find out someone's going around saying they're a Mason? Like, because, you know, you're supposed to be quiet. How about if you find out that someone is going around saying, oh, I'm a Mason, I'm a Mason, I'm a Mason? Is there a penalty for that?
Again, it depends on your organization.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to mention certain ones because I don't want to give them promotion. You know what I mean? But, no, it is not. Like, it's watered. A lot of it is watered down. Like my lodge, with my Grand Lodge and whatnot, we do get fly. Like in my Grand Lodge, don't get me wrong. Like I'm on the channel. I'm just casual, you know, because I'm in the Gaza, you know. But nah, on a regular day, I wear suits. I pretty much require my guys to wear suits, you know, you know. So again, you have the social club type of thing where it's watered down, and you have those kind of guys. I think Joe mentioned it earlier. I can't remember who mentioned it. Where you have these mediocre guys in these social clubs and stuff. So a lot of guys, to answer your question, they won't press you. You know what I mean? It's like we know who we are. I'm a little bit different. I will press a guy. Like, okay, you have this, you know, you have the ring on, or you have this on, and if I don't feel you're legitimate, I'm gonna press you. But not everybody's like that, and everybody can't be like that because you'll wind up going to the can. It brings too much attention. If that makes sense.
My friend was a Mason. My friend Andre, he was out in Vegas. He recently passed away from COVID, 44 years old. But he was a Mason, and I got to be honest with you. He was so serious with it. He's like, Joey, check this out. He's sending me pictures. He's in a dress. Like it looked like he was in the Moose Lodge out there. He seriously had like that Roddy Piper kilt dress on and shit. I was like, man, I don't want to laugh at the kid, but you guys rock that or no?
Who's saying?
You rocking the
who's
kilt?
just saying that? Vinny?
Nah, I was saying it, Joe.
Or Jason?
No, Joe, Jabaith, Joe.
Yeah, I was saying my friend out in Vegas, he was big time in that Freemason thing. He would send me pictures of like him in like a kilt or a dress.
Joe.
I don't know, man. Is that your thing too, the dress?
Joe. No. Nah. We wear it's not a kilt, my brother. It's like an apron, you know?
Okay. Whatever it was, man, it looked like I thought he had some Roddy Piper shit on.
All right, listen, if anything
happens...
No. Yeah.
We wear aprons, man. It's like a lambskin. It's like a loincloth, like you said.
Right, okay. Maybe apron, that's what it was, yep.
All right, listen.
No, it definitely was that. It's just it's like one of our badges. You know what I mean? It's something we wear for ritual, like ritual work. It's not like we go on the streets wearing it, but yeah, it's kind of like a kilt, but it's an apron.
Yeah. Well, listen, if anything happens at Bay 8th, we know why. We'll leave it at that. All right. Not that we didn't want anything to happen to Joe. Just fuck with you, Joe. All right. So Joe had his questions. Brooklyn guy, JSV Capital. Any questions before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm always interested in what's going on up there in the Bronx, La Cosa Nostra. Is it still alive and well? I know Vinny could answer that, but I want our guest to answer that. Is it still the guys are still out there? it's still an effective presence in the Bronx?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say this, man. I'm in Pelham, like I said. Hopefully we do get to hang out. Hopefully,
No, we
one day.
will. We will.
You have like with the wise guys, they're spread out. It's not like it's a spread out thing. But like, let's say you take in the Bronx, because the brother asked that. We have Little Italy in the Bronx, but it's not like if you take Little Italy particularly, the Little Italy area of the Bronx. I would say in my opinion, which I think is a strong opinion, it's like more Genovese. I'm saying as far as strength.
Yeah.
But you also have different families out there. So yes, it's definitely alive. And if people think, remember, like if you're a regular civilian, not saying you guys, I'm just saying like, the regular civilians who are interested in Cosa Nostra. Italians are not pussy, man. Pardon my French. We don't want to be obvious. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to be more like, I don't know, like obvious. We don't want to be like, too obvious. So, if you come to the Bronx, yes, but it's a traditional thing. It's not a bad thing. So if you come to the Bronx, yeah, I would say that the Genovese guys are more strong in terms of like legitimate businesses and things like that. You got Lucchese guys, obviously. You got Bonanno guys, obviously. So yeah, the presence is there. It's just, I don't know, man. I just think Italians, with Italians, we move different. To me, like getting money is in our blood. To me, it's in our blood. But it depends on the family. You know what I mean? As far as like with the New York thing, with the Bonanno guys. Well, I'm not saying now. I'm just saying in recent history, the Bonanno guys would be more violent. Let me say that, just to be blunt.
Good point.
More violent. Like, all right, we got to handle some business and fuck some guys up or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And then some guys are more legitimate, business oriented and whatnot. But yeah, the Bronx is like the Bronx. I'm biased because I'm a Brooklyn guy. The Bronx is more. Yeah, the Bronx is more street overall.
Yeah.
That's why Tom's afraid to go there.
Oh no! He lives in 10467. Am I wrong? I know every zip
Say that again.
I don't want to say because it might be right. I know every.
That's Tom's old stomping ground. Tom was up there.
I know every zip code in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm not. Actually, I think he's 10461, but I don't want him to confirm. I know every zip code in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
He knows. He knows a lot more than that about the Bronx.
Yes, it's 104 something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
104 something.
Yeah.
So when people say certain shit, like they could say with like the Guineas, Like, I don't care. I don't care what people think on the internet. You know what I mean? But the Italian, the real Italian, I don't even want to say that because some Italians they doing what's right.
Yeah.
Like one of my uncles. One of my uncles is American. That's what he is. He's
Love it.
family, but he's American. His whole
Michigan?
American.
Love
His
it.
whole his whole offspring is like being in the suburbs is a good thing, but that's it. They just become whatever mainstream Americanized, and then some guys are not.
Acclimated to society.
Some guys are just gonna. Yeah, some guys are gonna, keep to the tradition, and I wouldn't try to glorify it or anything like that because it shouldn't be, but like if you come from that upbringing, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Agreed.
Right?
Agreed. So listen,
in the Bronx, yeah.
No, what I was gonna say was, it's kind of a counterbalance, right? You want to preserve the culture, right? But the same token is, we want our kids to do better than us. What happens is, our kids go to better schools. Kids hang out with kids named Jane and Steven. So it's kind of a
yeah.
sword.
No, yeah, you're right about that. But then some guys, to me, but that's relative. It's not an absolute fact. Yeah. But some guys just lose their way, man. To me, but that's relative.
Correct.
If that's how that guy feels, like my uncle I mentioned was a American. That's what he didn't grow up like that, but that's what he became. Okay. Right. He doesn't want his kids to be nowhere, in the Bronx or in Howard Beach. Howard Beach is a good neighborhood, by the way. Don't think I'm saying it's bad, but around the street element. So for me, I'm just different, is what I'm saying, and
which I love about you.
No matter how legitimate I become, I don't forget where I came from. I can't. So that that's gonna be misconstrued as racketeering. Just like, again, if you came up Shylocking, let's say hypothetically speaking, I'm a regular guy, somebody's like, oh, listen, they're legitimate, which happens in the job, in the workplace.
Correct.
In a 9 to 5 place. You have a person like, listen, I want to borrow $3,000, right? And for me, I'll laugh like, all right, if you're making $20 an hour, which is, I'm not knocking somebody who does, if that's all you're doing, but it's like, I can't loan you $3,000, because if I loan you $3,000, like, to me, it's obvious that you're not going to be able to pay. I'm not going to be able to juice you, because you're going to fuck up. I know you're going to fuck up.
That's right.
You're just doing a 9 to 5, and I'm loaning you $3,000. I know you're not going to be able to, if that's all you're doing.
Correct.
I know you're not. On
Correct.
the other hand, let's say that 9 to 5 person is like, I need to borrow $100. They're living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, man, I'm not going to give you fucking $100. I'm not going to give you $100 at 3 points. I'm not doing that. If a 9 to 5 person that I just know in the neighborhood is like, oh yeah, can I borrow $100? I get it. Okay, you need $100 or $200 or $500, whatever. Yep. If it's in that range, I don't want to sound like a prick, but I'm going to charge you 20 points. If you want $100 and you're a 9 to 5 person, Okay, you're getting paid every week, every 2 weeks, or whatever. If it's in a week, I'm gonna charge you 20 points. Basically, give me my 100 back, and I want $20 on top of that. I don't want 20 points. I'm not gonna fucking charge you 3 points for $100. But the point is,
Agreed.
yeah, the point is all of these different rackets and whatnot, they're stimulated by the common folk.
Agreed.
If that wasn't true, we wouldn't have casinos. We wouldn't have fucking over here in Yonkers, by us, Yonkers, the casino. Queens has a casino. We know AC has casinos.
Yep.
Vegas has casinos. Come on now.
Agreed. So listen, we are approaching 3 hours. You've been more than a gentleman. On behalf of Bay 8th and JSV, we're going to wrap it up. Give us your parting comments before we wrap it up.
All right.
Majelio, and how can people find you?
Yeah, no, you could come to my channel, which is cool, whatever. I like network on YouTube. I have a t-shirt business, but I don't really come online with that. I have a silk screen, machine and the palace, vinyl, all of that type of stuff. Check out, if anybody wants to, please check out Justice Tech Pros.
Yeah, Dominic.
Yeah, check out Justice Tech Pros, which is, in our range. And that deals with helping out, your legal team, basically helping out your legal team and digging up what needs to be dug up to help you out, whether that's legitimate, whatever, civil court stuff, criminal court stuff, or whatever the case may be. So I would say that most of all, Justice Tech Pros.
Love it.
Justice Tech Pros. Yep.
We had a Joe Rogan-esque style tonight. I want to thank Majelio Montagna, JSV Capital, Joe, also Vinny. I'm going to drop the link below. I'm going to put Majelio's link there. And Majelio, grazie. You gave us a lot of great time, a lot of information. We are going to visit you in the Bronx, and we will have you on again. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Oh,
Pleasure
yeah,
meeting you.
Thank you, man.
Definitely love to all of you.
I'll be checking out your channel, bro, and thank you, man. Thanks for letting me come on.
Be well.
Yeah, you can hit me up. Tom has my number. Hit me up, and salute to your Bambinos too. All of your Bambinos. All right.
Well, that's where I had to go now.
All right, man.
So thank you guys. Ciao.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, gentlemen. Ciao.
All right.